is Rowena Dooley asking Soul citizens to report for duty. Rowena Dooley asking Soul citizens to report for duty.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Soul Voices. I am GriffinGriffinRPG. Today is Saturday, April the 13th, and we are so happy to have you joining us this afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a great Saturday as you move into, Session 5, Chapter 5, Episode 5 of the great initiative that we've been doing in the Star Citizen universe in 3.22. I heard that it was a hot, buggy mess yesterday. I didn't get a chance to try to dabble with it, but I heard people were trying to get it to work, and I think it kind of worked, and then it didn't work. So maybe today I'll get to touch base with some folks and find out what's going on with it. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the last 4 weeks, because those have been like the weeks that have been building up to this. It's kind of sad that if it's not working, it's kind of anticlimactic, right? I mean, and last week's was really kind of cool, right? I think they had the mission where you had to go to, I won't say where it is, you have to go to a certain place and do a certain thing, which was a little bit different. And it was probably some of the heaviest FPS gameplay that probably we've done in quite a while in the game. Probably maybe more than any other thing, I think, other than Siege of Orson. So it was pretty intense. And seems like people were really, really enjoying it, which I'm glad to hear. People were having a great time with it. But this is all kind of leading up to Xenothreat and Invictus. And so we'll have to see where CIG is going to take us. They talked a little bit about that on ISC last week for you guys who didn't get a chance to see that. Make sure you watch that episode. But anyway, just want to say thank you for being here. Really happy to have you here with me today. Today's title for the show, as you can see, is different. Today's title is We Haven't Played Star Citizen Yet. It's been, let's see, 2012 was the announcement, or 2014, so we're 13 years and about 6 months in. 13 years? 12 years and 6 months in. 11 years and 6 months in. 24, 2 years. Yeah, okay. We're 13. What is it? 11 years? What am I counting? 22, 23, 11 years and 6 months in. And I will say that we have not played Star Citizen yet. And you say, Griff, what are you talking about? We've been playing Star Citizen for years. And I'm going to go to the contrary and say, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. So, yeah, that's going to be kind of our carry the one. Yeah, thank you, Voodoo. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as our topic for today. But anyway, this is Soul Voices, where we talk about different things that are going on in the Star Citizen community, mostly from Spectrum or from Reddit or from CIG themselves, the gaming industry. And sometimes it's just stuff that I top off the top of my head. And so today it's going to be a little mixture of all that stuff. We're going to be pulling from Spectrum Actually, we're going to pull a little bit from my head, and then we're also going to pull away from the RSI website. Hopefully you guys will be able to join me. Don't forget, on this show, this is a one-on-one where you get to come in and share your thoughts about the topics that I picked. Please feel free to come in. We have some wonderful people who faithfully support us and come in and share their thoughts, and we want to open that up to even more people. I know it's being a little shy sometimes, the idea of coming in and talking online, but believe me, if you do it, you'll have fun and you'll get to share your thoughts and share what you think about the topics that I'm talking about in the community. So other than that, let's get to it. We're going to jump into it right now. Let's see. What do I want to do here? I want to do this. Okay, we're going to go here and we're going to pick our very first topic. This was actually, I had heard about this a few weeks ago, back in March, and then I just kind of heard it and I said, it's probably not going to go anywhere. And then one of our good friends, Dig That 32, did a video on it. And as you guys know, love Dig. Dig is, I'm just so impressed with Dig, his production work and his critiques, his reviews, his insight into Star Citizen is probably some of the most, the word I want to say is accessible. You know, people can watch it and actually learn from him and at the same time be entertained, which is a tough thing to balance, right? Not to make something so technical that it's boring and not be so fluff that it doesn't have meaning. And so if you guys have never checked out Dig That 32, please check out his videos. Definitely great contributor to the Star Citizen community. But he did a review on this. So we're going to talk about the post first, then we're going to actually look at his video. It's not a very long video. We're going to look at it and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. And the first one is this, the future of BedLogging. Many of you guys know that BedLogging had gotten, I don't want to say nerfed, it got changed. BedLogging before used to be that anyone who was on a ship could bedlog out of a ship. And if you came back in the game while that ship was still active, you could kind of spawn right back into the ship. But then there were folks who were bedlogging for all the wrong reasons. One of the reasons, for example, would have been combat logging. People, before people would like shut down and like just, log out of the game. But then people started doing this thing where if they were being attacked, they just go back in the back, they combat log. And then of course they would disappear. And then once they'd wait till the person was gone or come back the next day, then they'd just respawn back in their same place and continue doing it. And bedlogging was never intended to do that. Bedlogging was supposed to be a way for us to remain immersive in the world. Some of you who've played other games before, like EVE Online, some other games, you would log out, but you would have to go to a station to log out. Logging out in your ship was not a thing necessarily. You could do that in some games. I shouldn't say that, but CIG kind of wanted it to be where there's actual bed. It's not just a matter of just hitting escape, save, and leave, right? They wanted to make it so that you would actually simulate. I'm out in space. I'm in deep space. I'm too far away to go to a station. I'm just going to stop right here in space. I'm going to get in my bed or on this moon, and I'm going to get in my bed, log out. When I wake up, I'm there. It's actually very immersive. I don't know how many of you guys have ever bedlogged and forgot you bedlogged, and you come back to the game a couple days later and you wake up and you're thinking you're going to wake up in a hab, and nope, you're sitting in your prospector, right? Or you're sitting in your 300i, whatever. You look up, I forgot I was in my ship. Very cool thing. I used to do this when we first got Astor's clearing. I would go down with my 100i and I would park just outside of the clearing. This was during the month of January. I was trying to do this thing where I was just going to live in the world, live in the game. And I'd get in that bed and go to sleep, and you'd wake up, and I'd wake up and there's the sky and the trees above me. It was so cool. So bedlogging has come a long way over time. Anyway, just kind of want to let you know that that's kind of what the bedlogging thing was about when it first came in. Let's read this post that was done by Complex Ghost 2. This is in CIG chat. This was actually written. Okay, you know what? Before I do that, I need to read the original post. So bear with me here, gang. I didn't think about this. I forgot that I only put Chad's response in. I'm going to read the original post for you. It's not lengthy, but I'll read it. But I do want to do Chad's thing too. It says, let me get to the top here. As of writing this, bedlogging is currently allowed for one person on the ship. I forgot to mention that. Now only the owner can bedlog. Okay. 20 to 30 kilometers away from any landmark or OM marker, and without any interference in any sort of way. Players that are near the ship or fighting or idle. With RL, SM, and capital ships on the horizon, will this be changed in any way? If I were to run into an Idris, and it would be a pain to find everyone because they couldn't bedlog. Another thing is that when you bedlog near a POI, such as brios or bunkers, you are just taken to the nearest spawnable location. Why can't our ships be moved outside of this range instead of taking us back to a spawnable location? If I log at brios, then it pushes me back from the area. Don't force me back to Seraphim or to Grimhex. So this was Chad's response. He says, I've had a lot of folks ping me asking to follow up on the main question here, which is fair since I rolled into the topic to clarify a tangential question. Sorry. We're looking at what we have now for the vision for 1.0 for the future for this feature and many others. The way bedlogging works in the game isn't going to fit that vision, but really more fundamentally, bedlogging itself doesn't entirely fit that vision. I don't want to overly speak to specifics now, but what we want ultimately is to be more ambitious and fundamentally revisit what logging in, persistence, spawning, and everything around it. In this new world, we're going to have a drastically different game that has server meshing, persistent habs and hangars, player created bases, multiple solar systems, and more. That said, because of all that, it won't be something you'll see change in 3.23. On the road to Star Citizen 1.0, this is one of the many things in the game we are looking at to make sure it is hitting the mark for what the game needs and the vision that CR has. So, interesting things there that Chad says. Chad says that they're reevaluating some stuff, right? Which is okay. You know, they're reevaluating some things. But it also talks about the fact that what bedlogging is right now does not fit the vision. Now, I think it's important that we hear that, because there are things that come into the game, and they come into the game for the sole purpose of proof of concept. In other words, we want to see, does this work? Does it not only work as far as the technical sides of it and the mechanical sides of it, but does it fit? Does it work in the sense of what the direction of the game will be? Now, that doesn't always come in at tier 0. Sometimes tier 0 is, let's just see if the technical side of it works. And then once we see how players respond to it, or how the lore team works with it, or how Chris's vision is, we will see how we can use it, if we can even use it in the game. Now, personally, I love bedlogging. I love the idea of being able to know that I can get in my bed and go to sleep. I'm not one of those people. I'm not throwing any shade toward anybody. Maybe it does sound like I'm throwing shade. But I'm not one of those people, if I get in combat, I'm going to hop out the chair and go run in the back. Go get in the bed and say, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm either going to try to get away, or I'm going to have some type of defensive measures with people in my turrets or something, right? And so the question becomes, how do you know, even what we have right now, is that the vision of where they want to go? So what I want to do is, and I'm sorry I didn't cycle this thing when I was reading, gang, so please forgive me for not giving you the rest of the text there for Chad. I was reading from another screen. So what I want to do is look at Digdak's video, because I think Digdak has a great insight and look to this. And then I would love to have you guys come in and talk with me a little bit about this. So let's take a quick look at this, and then we're going to bring some folks in and talk.
This right here. Hey, you. So a couple of weeks or so ago, I was reading Spectrum, and Chad McKinney, who's a senior lead gameplay engineer at CIG, was commenting on a post about bedlogging, hopping into your bed to log out of the game. Here's what he said. We are looking at what we have now and the vision for 1.0 for this feature and many others. The way bedlogging works in the game isn't going to fit that vision, but really, more fundamentally, bedlogging itself doesn't entirely fit that vision. As quite a statement, especially if you're like me and enjoy walking into your captain's quarters or ship hab and retiring to the bed to end your play session. Going to sleep is just how you end your session when you're in your ship, and hopefully in your tastefully appointed penthouse or hollowed out asteroid in the future. But according to his comment, that's not the direction the game is headed. He didn't clarify what the new direction would be, so that leaves a lot of room for speculation. So I reached out to my boy Cal Roddy, who's an oracle at interpreting the techie specky CIG things for me. We had a long convo about the possibility possibilities, which I'm gonna get to. But first, if you are for it or against it, let us know where you stand so we can get a picture of where everybody is on this. I read every comment, which lets me get to know you a bit as I start to recognize your name pop up. Sometimes I even take a look at your channel. Oh, but first we gotta talk about this not publicly announced Pyro thing real quick. So like up, sub up, and ring up like a boss. Pyro, the next star system you'll be jumping to live out your best space life. Up till now, we've known that Pyro was going to be huge, much bigger than the size of Stanton, the current system we're in. Stanton is somewhere between 4.85 and 5 astronomical units, depending on where you look. Pyro had always been listed as being around 13 AU, not quite 3 times bigger than Stanton, but big enough to be a game changer in some aspects. Travel is very different when none of the ships can run laps around the system like they do now. So with 13 AU in mind, Mr. Beardman spotted the distance shown in the CitizenCon Star Engine trailer. Instead of 13 AU, Pyro is now 9.83 AU. If 3.17 AU doesn't sound like much of a difference, to put it in perspective, Pyro has shrunk by 2/3 of the size of the entire system of Stanton. The decision was made by CIG to cut down on the travel times in the system, and a lot of folks will appreciate that. It makes everything more in reach. But there's a lot of folks who will be resistant to the idea too. Completing a long and possibly difficult journey is rewarding. In Elite Dangerous, it's a badge of honor to have made the Hutton run, an hour-and-a-half run from Alpha Centauri A to Hutton Orbital at full throttle and Super Cruise. Not everybody will make that trip, but if you did, you sir are a trooper. Having extremely distant planets in Pyro will be pro-explorer in that people who pack up and plan for a successful trip will discover and see things that the unwilling will just have to miss. A dedicated crew on a Carrack will be something that other explorers will want to be a part of. Maybe CIG should get the Domjot table in the recreation area going.
Play, Domjot, human.
Anywho, scale is going to be a factor in how this plays out. If they take the current layout of Pyro and just scale it down proportionately, then the Starfarers will starve. Probably. Most of the planets are clustered around the star, so a proportionate scale down shrinks the distance between those planets, and that area becomes smaller than the Stanton system. There's a few planetary outliers that might still feed the Starfarers a bit, but since most of the traffic will be in a reduced area around Pyro, the space tankers will probably mostly be sitting around doing nothing, just like right now. On the other hand, if the central cluster of planets stays the same and the outer planets are brought in closer, then there may still be some hope for the refuelers out there. The distance between the inner and outer planets will be reduced, encouraging more players to venture outwards, causing more bingo fuel mishaps. Travel between the inner cluster won't be so close together, so the occasional "I forgot to check my fuel gauge" situations are still in play, and it may work out better all around. This isn't taking into account how your relationship with the different factions are and how that'll affect where you can fuel up and the overall availability of fueling stations, so keep hope alive, refuelers of the verse.
All right, so I'm going to stop there, and I've let it bleed a little bit more into the next topic that Dig talked about Pyro shrinking and system shrinking and why that happens. And this is still tied into our title for the show so far, that you have not played Star Citizen yet. Because again, here's something that we've gotten used to and we've had it in our hands for a while. And because we've had it in our hands for a while, we think this is the way the game is going to go. But development evolves, and yet and still we may find out that BedLogging is something different, ends up being something different in the game. So I'm going to bring some folks in. I know Kaizen was the first one here. I'm going to bring him in, and let's talk about this idea, and then we'll go from there. Kai, how are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic. What's up?
Good, bro.
How you doing today?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. All right. So I think both of these issues, the lessening of travel time by adjusting either speeds of vehicles and or distances and AUs, and or, the system is still the same size, but we moved the stations in so that we made it less from the primary star to this body, whether it be a station or a moon or whatever. As well as the BedLogging, this comes back to something that you and I have talked about many times already, which is this. As Star Citizen transitions from being this beautiful mind idea of just shit on a chalkboard that doesn't have to actually be defined as anything, and we have this Schrodinger cat of, I think systems are going to be huge and it's going to take hours to get anywhere. And I love that because I love reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you log out in your bed, you're still going to be there in the ship because that's realism.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that making distances shorter to travel is better because this is a video game and I've got kids and grandkids and the wife's yelling at me to, I gotta go change the pool filters and somebody needs to bring in whatever. And I got my neighbor needs something and neighborhood watch. And, I want a bed log because, I got shit to do. I got, Shogun's coming on in 3 minutes. I want a bed log. I got to see the new episode.
Right.
And we see if Angie and San's going to get away with this one. And we can both be happy because CIG was just throwing up shit on a chalkboard. It was all ill-defined. And it could be everything to everyone at all times. And all of these things come under the heading to me of, you're now going to have to make some hard decisions. And sometimes you're going to go hard in favor of gameplay. Sometimes you're going to go hard in favor of realisms. Sometimes you're going to split the difference, 80-20 this way, 60-40 that way. And regardless of what they decide, this is not a situation where CIG can decide correctly. There is no correct. This is a matter of, one person. This is a matter of, if you go to New York and you get a hot dog, you're going to put mustard and ketchup on it because you're a sane human being. If you go to Chicago and put ketchup on a hot dog, you're going to get punched in the face. This is not a matter of right and wrong. This is a matter of choice and like your taste, your personal whatever. And so it's a situation where they are just going to have to make their own decisions. Some of them you're going to like, some of them you're going to hate. Some people are going to say, screw this, I'm out, I'm leaving. This isn't the game I always dreamed it would be. Some people are going to say, I always thought this was going to be a pain in the ass, but it sounds kind of awesome. You're going to gain some, you're going to lose some. There is no right answer. Just make decisions. And here's the key, though. I'm telling you, Griff, here's the key. If they start backtracking and giving in, they're dead.
Oh, yeah,
as soon as you start backtracking on your vision and your ideas to please the crowd,
you dilute it. Yep.
They know they own your ass, and you'll never, ever, ever make everyone happy.
Very true.
They just have to make their calls, and it is what it is. And hopefully, if 100 people leave because they're pissed off, hopefully 101 will come in because they're excited. And that's all you can do.
That's a great point. I remember when CIG, for the longest time, we didn't have food and drink, right? And I remember when they as soon as they mentioned food and drink, there was a group that went completely ape. They were like, I don't want this to be a survival game. This better not be Ark. No, nobody said that, right? But they went all the way to that extreme, right? Because survival games were popular, Rust and all this other stuff. And it got implemented and it got tweaked. And now you don't hear anybody talking about it, right? Sometimes we create our own, anxiety bubble, because something's going to change. And I think the frustration for me, I shouldn't say frustration. I think the thing is that we constantly hear that things can change. We sign a waiver that says, this can change or this can modify, blah, blah, blah. And even though we hear that subconsciously, sometimes these fears come up out of us. And I'm not saying that BedLogging is going to be something that we're all going to like. We may like it. Like, again, not to be funny, but this was like BedLogging tier 0, tier 1. You know what I mean? We're not like tier 8, where we've seen all these modifications of it and we think it's finally there. It's been pretty much the same ever since we've got it. And so if it's now evolving into something else that supports the other 80% of the game, it may make sense when we get it then. We're like right now, it may not make sense, right? Because it's a very simple process. Now, who knows what the mechanic will be? But I agree with you 100%. They have to make a decision. And it doesn't mean that the game is a good game or a bad game. The question is it a game for you? That's what you were saying, right? And if it's a game for you, hey, you get in and do it. I don't know too many games where every facet of the game is just perfect. There can always be something found, because some people are going to say there's too much narrative. Some people are going to say the game's too slow. There's always going to be something that people are going to have. And I think your point is well made. You're not going to satisfy everybody. You have to stick to your vision and produce it and let the chips fall where they may.
There's a reason why Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors, because not everybody likes the same one. So it's not, and it don't make me right and you wrong. It's just I like chocolate, you like peanut butter, whatever.
There you go.
It is what it is. But buckle up, because I'm telling you, over the next 3 to 4 years, if they actually lock this down and it goes from being a tech demo to an actual game, this issue is going to be repeated 10,000 more times of, I wanted it to be more gamified. I wanted it to be more realistic. And those two crowds will always be a contention.
There you go. All right, buddy. Thank you much, guy. Guys always bring in the smarts. All right, let's see. Let's bring in, I think Red Bear was next. Let's bring in Red. Hey, Red, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine.
Good.
Yeah, the BedLogging. Yeah. If they, I hope they take it out temporary. Because at the moment, I just talked with another viewer about it. Yeah, it's not really necessary. We have only Stanton and maybe later on, Pyro.
Yeah.
And even if it's getting bigger, I don't think it's still necessary to bedlog, because I want to see the game of football or soccer or anything else. I don't think it's necessary. So
let me ask you a question. So if you're playing the game and you're in deep space, there's no space stations around. None. There's no space stations. How are you going to log out of the game?
I'm going to the closest space stations.
Okay.
And then I want to travel there, and then I'll log out.
Okay. So right now, in Stanton, to go from the Gauss Gate, Gate to Terra Gate takes 30 minutes.
Yeah. Then I'll do that trip.
So, listen. Let me finish. You're in deep space. There ain't no space stations. There ain't no planets. There ain't no landing zones.
No, but I'm talking about the game as it is now, and even with Pyro.
I thought you said later you didn't want it in the game later. You're saying it's okay later when the game is expanded. You're saying it makes sense to have it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like you just didn't want to have it at all. I'm like, wow, you gonna?
No.
Okay, I misunderstood. I misunderstood, Red. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're right. We're in a small system right now. I get it
as well. I mean, later on they should put it back in, of course.
Yeah,
the whole BedLogging stuff.
I'll tell you the one time I do. Go ahead.
Because you need it. Yeah. I think you really need it, especially what you just mentioned as the example, like when you have really nothing around. There will be a hard sell not to have BedLogging, especially with all those beds in those.
Like the Idris with all those beds. What do you do with all those beds? Right, the carrot. Yeah. You've got all these rooms.
I mean. That would be stupid. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, well, it seemed like a waste of resources if they did, but we'll have to see what they come up with, right? So I know I agree with you. In a small system, it's not a big deal. I agree. Yeah.
I really think it will come back in
time.
Form. I don't know, but it will come back. It would make no sense if they take it all out. I mean, that would be a waste of time of all those ships, putting all those beds in and those. Washing, I don't know, whatever they put in there.
I agree. I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Plus, we are talking, I think a week or two ago about this logistics. You want to have the logistics also something to do.
That's true.
And if you make everything short distance, then I think it defeats the game. In all.
I think that the people don't know when it comes to the distance that you've been around a long time, Red, so you'll remember this. Some people may not know this. When we first got Port Olisar, to go from Port O to Hurston took 15 minutes in real time. When we first got the trams in Hurston, when we first got the train, remember? You used to wait 4 to 5 minutes for a train. Trains didn't show up in 1 minute. Remember that?
If you miss the train, you
had to wait, right? You had to wait, right? And at first it felt kind of cool, but then after a while it was like, same thing with the elevators, right? The elevators used to be this and this. So what we've seen is that CIG constantly tweaks these speeds for things, right? So now trams come, they don't come super fast, but they don't take forever. Moving from Port Olisar or now Seraphim to Hurston, instead of being 15 minutes, maybe it's 7 minutes, right? So like you said, either adjusting flight times or shrinking the systems. Please, guys, don't panic about Pyro shrinking. Pyro and Stanton are small systems. They're not big systems, right?
Pyro is small, guys.
It is.
Make posts on the forums.
Yeah.
Please do. Yes.
It is. It's going from 13 AU to 9 seems like, and don't get me wrong, it's a decent amount to lose, but check it out. There are systems that are 30 AU, 50 AU, 78. They're bigger. So we can't have, if it takes, as I just mentioned with Red, if it takes 30 minutes to cross Stanton now, and it's only 4 AU, what happens when you get into a system that's 70 AU? You see what I'm saying? So don't freak out about Pyro. Pyro is just one system. And if Starfarers don't make any money there, that's okay, because they'll make enough, but there'll be some other places that they'll go. We're only just talking about one system. But this scale thing, they can't do ridiculous scale in this game. Not, and Kai was just saying this earlier. Yeah, you may want that realism, but the realism can make the game so stale. And for those of you who aren't into it, no, wait, listen. What I mean, that there are some people that spending time traveling like an Elite Dangerous who want that realism, they aren't interested in that. It's too boring to spend 3 weeks to get somewhere. Other people love it.
Yeah. But then you have the other side, of course. I mean, you can say that, but the other flip side is if you make it like instant, like in Starfield, guys, most people have played that, and they thought it was boring and bland as well, and made all those ships obsolete.
Yeah.
So we don't want that either.
No, absolutely. Right.
And what I said, if you don't have the distance, you can just say goodbye to all those logistic professions in Star City.
Right. No, I'm not against the logistics. Believe me, and I think we should have. All I'm saying is that you're going to have some systems that take 10 minutes to cross, and you may have other systems that take an hour, 2 hours to cross, or several days. Maybe. Yeah. But I'm just saying, everybody's freaking about one system, and it's like, guys, they have to tweak it. Just like the trains got tweaked, just like the distance from moons got tweaked. They're going to tweak the systems too. But I think that the realism is going to stay there enough that you're not going to feel like it's too gamey, gamified, I think you'll still have a feeling of realism, Okay.
What other people might say, immersion, right?
Yeah, there you go. There's the word. You would use that word. All right, Red. Thank you.
I'll just use it whenever I think it applies.
The Chris Roberts word. Okay. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. All right. Let me bring in, I think, Pops, then I'm going to bring in Mikey, I think that's the order. Hope. Pops, how are you?
Oh, hey, Griff. How you doing today?
Okay.
All right. Had to unmute. I want to kind of throw. I don't know if I guess it would be throwing a wrench in, because I know this is as Disco always said, this is game development. And I know we're discussing the BedLogging and the people that are in combat and they BedLog to get out of combat. I think we also need to give CIG time, not only with BedLogging, but also because of that with the escape pods. Because you have to see how that's going to figure out. Because if somebody's in, two people in the, bunch of people in the ship, and they're like, "Oh man, we're being blown up." Do we just BedLog, or do we, I don't want to be bothered with escape pod. Right. So we have to give them time to not only balance BedLogging, but to escape pods in there. Because I can kind of see it being an issue.
I think you raising that as a good point. I think that the problem is that since the escape pods aren't in the game, right? That's gameplay. That's immersion. BedLogging is not. BedLogging to get out of an encounter is not. If that was real life, if you got in bed, you're going to get blown up. That's it. You're getting in bed, you get blown up. You don't disappear just because you get in bed, right? You get blown up.
Blown up.
Now there are some, but if you decide to get into the escape pods, that's in the game, right? You may lose the ship, but you save your life, right? That's kind of what the idea is. You're willing to let the ship go, or maybe the ship is so damaged and can't be repaired that the only thing left to do is now eject from the ship, right?
Right.
So I think that the fact that we don't have escape pods, and the question would be this: let's say escape pods did get in the game, would people stop BedLogging? Probably not.
Yeah, I think you're going where I'm thinking.
They're probably still going to. They wouldn't do it. They still BedLog.
Yeah. Now, I guess it depends on where the escape pods go to, because if, let's say, you're in the Orion and it's your ship, and I'm like, Griff, take me to so and so station.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, we not stop mining. All of a sudden, you hear that sound, that escape pod launching, and I'm gone. So it'll be,
but the problem is, but the problem with doing that is escape pod is just going to jettison you out into space. It's not like you can fly the thing, so you're going to be stuck out in space. But I do appreciate the fact that you mentioned about escape pods, because since we know they're on the ships, but they're not in the game, right? It's very easy to forget that might be a part of that vision that Chad McKinney's talking about in the future, right? They may be implementing some other things that do compensate for it, but I think the issue with BedLogging is that BedLogging breaks immersion. When I'm out, sometimes I'm out mining in my prospector, I will BedLog because I don't want to. First of all, I only maybe filled my ship up with 40% material. I still got 60% empty, right? Secondly, I've got something I need to go do. So I will say I'm going to log here. I'm going to stay out in the belt. Now, I know when I come back, that Quantanium that I was working on is going to be gone. But it's just the fact that it saves me the thing of having to go all the way back to the station with a half empty ship, only to turn around and have to come all the way back again. You see what I'm saying? So that's an immersion thing for me, when I do that. I'm in the game. I'm not because somebody's shooting at me. I'm going to go to sleep. Now, the reality is if my ship remained there, that would be completely immersive, but that's not what happens. But at least I know that I can wake up there. But the fact that because you come after me and I'm in a mining ship or whatever ship I'm in, and I'm losing, because I'm not going to BedLog if I'm winning, right? I'm only going to BedLog because I'm afraid of losing. And I decide to do that, and then I deny and here's another example of people were BedLogging in. You had a bounty on you. You've been out there. You've been out there causing havoc, and you've got a 5-level, crime stat bounty. And then somebody comes after you, or a bunch of people, and then you decide to go, I'm going to go BedLog to get out of being caught. Well, the people who doing the bounty hunting have spent time and effort to reach you, right? And then you just up and disappear, So you can see what the problem is with that. Now, you and I have played Mortal Online too, and you know how it is in Mortal. In Mortal, if you're in a safe place, you can log out within 15 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever. But if you're out in the wilds, you have to wait 2 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
And you're vulnerable for those 2 minutes. Somebody could kill you, right? Now, CIG could implement something like that, combat logging, right? So that when you log, there's a clock, a timer that goes off before, even if you go get into bed, that ship's going to sit there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That maybe people wouldn't do it then, because now they're going to probably lose their ship. And who knows what happens. So they could come up with a whole lot of stuff. Matter of fact, not only could you lose your ship, they could make it so that if you got blown up during that 3-minute period, you take physical damage. You take physical damage because you were in the bed. And when you come back, maybe you've got an arm missing, or maybe you were killed, There's a lot of things that they could do, but we'll see. We'll see where they go with it, Pops. But thanks for mentioning about the escape pods, because that is definitely a factor of survival in the game that we haven't even gotten to yet. So good stuff. All right. Thank you, buddy. Okay. All right. Let me bring in Mikey, because Mikey's here. He's been waiting patiently. Mikey, how are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Thanks for stopping in. Any thoughts?
I'm good. I think the combat logging thing is going to, like you said, 2-minute timer easily.
Mm-hmm. Have you done any, like, for you when you played? Do you ever use the beds, or you haven't really monkeyed around with them?
Oh yeah, Prospector. I use it all the time
for mining.
I love Prospector. Yep.
Yeah, and let me ask you the other question. Do you think that I think someone mentioned earlier that I think it was Red was saying that it would almost be a waste if we didn't still use the beds because they put them in. For a lot of ships. I think
you're almost going to have to use it for a stats boost. Because if you look at the Prospector, it has the water maker on it. And it has all that stuff.
Yeah.
And also, you got to look at habs. We have all these beautiful habs. Rental. You're going to have to rent a hab if you don't got a hangar. If your persistent hangar's not there, that you're going to have to rent a hab.
Right.
That's economy. So they can't take that away unless they really want to mess up the economy.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I think that's the 3,000-foot view. I don't know.
No, I think those are valid points. I hate to say it, but beds are almost, everywhere like showers are, right? In bathrooms. I mean, unless you're in a Drake
look
ship.
at the Genesis. Also, Genesis.
Yeah. The Genesis line.
The Genesis.
Go ahead.
That could be 3 days. You could be going somewhere for 3 days, say Terra to, I don't know, the far reaches, out to one of these new star systems.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think, you mentioned an interesting thing about if there's a stats boost. Do you think that CIG will make it, they talked about NPCs having to rest, right? At some point, they can't just, you can't work them for 24/24. Do you think that there could be some benefit that when you get into bed, when you come back, there is some type of stamina, you know, that you're better, you know what I mean? In some form.
Easy. Yeah, it has to be, like you said, a stamina booster. Why else use a bed? If you can just log out anywhere, why use a bed?
Okay.
Or safe zones, like you said about EVE Online. EVE Online used to have safe zones.
Right.
You'd have to be like 2 minutes away from combat before you could log out. Now you can just log it anywhere, but I still don't log out anywhere in EVE Online because I've been playing EVE Online since the day where if you didn't log out at a station, you risk just losing everything.
That's right.
I think CIG needs to lead back, though. I think towards CIG, when we do get physical ship where they stay in space, people want to go to the station and log out in the station bed because they give them better stat boost. That'd be the reason to keep
good
the
motivation.
Around too.
That's a good motivation. Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I don't know.
Oh, it's good. This is great ideas, man. All right, Mikey. Well,
but I also like your idea of like being out in the wilderness and logging off just to look at the trees when you wake up.
Yeah, it is actually cool. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was kind of shocked because I logged out and forgot about it because I was rushing when I left, and then when I came back to the game, I'm like, where the heck am I? You know, and I looked up, like, oh wow. You know, you get so used to looking at those cold gray walls when you wake up, you know, and all of a sudden you're outside, the sun's out, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool, you know. So yeah, no, it is. I think it is. I guess the question. Let's just see where CIG is going to go, right? That's what it comes down to. You know, let's see. I think that we voiced like what we're doing.
Yeah, CR's vision.
Yeah, and they listen. You know, I mean, I don't know if they listen to my show, but I know they listen to plenty of people. They do read Spectrum, and I think that's why this is good that the community can share ideas. And Chad said, we've got a vision for it. He said, we're not getting rid of it. He said, but what we're doing right now doesn't fit where they want to go ultimately. So I'm just hoping that what we get will be better when it's all said and done.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right, buddy. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it. All righty, Mikey. That was his first time here. Very, very cool. Let me bring in the Admiral, the one, the only, Kusanagi. What's up, buddy?
You know what really grinds my gears?
BedLogging.
No, BedLogging is fine. I have no problem with BedLogging.
Oh, okay.
Let's take your scenario, right? You say you log out in a forest, and because of persistence, and because there's a family stuff, you know, you're gone for like 3 months. Then you log back in, and then you look around. You're like, where the hell am I? Because everything's been clear cut. Because while you were gone,
built a building.
Some industry just came in there and just tore that thing down.
That could happen.
Like, that makes no sense at all. I'm like, it's the stupidest idea. You know, the whole thing where, you know, the idea of you going to everything in Star Citizen is about time management. I've said for years this game is about time. This is a time simulator. It takes time to like load up your fuel because you have to do that manually in the future. Putting your missiles on there. You're like doing your own servicing, cargo, like everywhere.
Right.
And then someone wants to be like, well, I have to figure out, I don't want to like log out. Like, give me a break. Like, give me a break. Like, everything is time management. You can't figure it out, don't play this game. Like, they have Squadron 42. They've got TOW, which they haven't talked about in a while, but that's going to be like closest to like a Call of Duty or something like that. If you want your Star Citizen fixed and you don't have time, there are other places to find it. We've made over $700 million for this game and the vision we've come up to this point, and now they want to start changing the stuff. They want to start holding our hands.
Whoa! What are they holding our hands on in relation to BedLogging?
They want, okay, well, you get the big, everything is time. Everything is time management, right?
I'm with you.
Figuring this out.
But tie this into BedLogging. Wait.
Oh, we don't have to,
Wait. Admiral, you're putting words, there's a thing called eisegeting and exegeting, okay? Eisegeting is when you read something into something that's not being said, and eisegeting is when you let whatever it is speak to you. There's no one who has said anything about they're complaining about that they're shrinking it because of people complaining about time. What I'm saying is that there are people concerned about the fact that if we're losing time and the shrinking of the systems will impact the game. And my point is that it won't. because these are only 2 systems. People are looking at this from a very narrow viewpoint of Stanton and Pyro. And you and I both know Nyx is 30 AU. Even if they shrink that to 20 AU, it's huge. If we go to other systems that are 40 and 50. So all I'm saying is just like how the trains came down from 5 minutes to 2 minutes, all I'm saying it's a tweaking thing. It's a tweaking.
They can tweak it all they want if they bring the systems down because they're too big, and then make everything quicker on the ships. We can get around in 5 minutes.
No, who's getting around in 5 minutes? See, you're exaggerating. You're eisegeting again. You're eisegeting. But that's wrong.
But
don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate. No, listen. Don't exaggerate because you'll make people think that's what's happening, and that's not what's happening. That's why I don't want you to exaggerate.
I won't exaggerate.
I don't want people to think that because people will think that all of a sudden that there will be traveling in 5 minutes, and that's not the case.
Well, no, it's actually the opposite because you've talked about like at 75 AU, there's a system that's like 350, 450. There's some huge systems.
Thank you.
So it's going to take some damn time.
Right.
And yes, you're going to use that chess set like in the MSR. I just saw a checkers board in an 890. I'm like, ooh. When you guys were fighting in the 890,
you're looking at the checkerboard.
I was like, I was going to ask around who wanted to do a match real quick.
You're right. No, you're right. It is time management. And believe me, I'm 100% right with you. I think that there are people who, and this is why it's difficult because people who are looking at the game, and that's why we titled this show, You Have Not Played Star Citizen Yet. Because people get used to what's being tested and sometimes think that what's being tested is the final product. And the product can change, the product can modify, the product can tweak, because it has to meet the whole of the game, not one thing. I can't look at mining and see how mining is and say, oh, it's working great. But then later on, not care about, does mining impact salvaging or trade? Or does it impact the guy who's doing crafting? Maybe mining feels good to me as a miner, but maybe the way I'm doing mining will have some negative impact on the economy of the game. And so that's why we're having this conversation, because people have generated a lot of nervousness about something that is, anybody who's been a Star Citizen for any amount of time knows that things change. And for the most part, when they've changed for the better, not the worse. And even when they have gone for the worse, when the community has said, hey, you guys may need to reconsider that, sometimes CIG finds a place where it works better. So we'll have to see. I agree with what Kai said earlier and what you're saying. CIG needs to put the game out with the vision that they want. And for the people who like it, they like it. For the people who don't, they don't.
I just want to say that I have a bunch of ships. I've got too many ships I probably shouldn't have bought.
Mm-hmm.
Probably talk to my therapist about it, but I actually probably have. And if I bring out a prospector, I realize that what I can use that ship, like how I can log out. Mm-hmm. I know I should bring some food.
Right.
I should bring some water. If I bring a Gladius or a single fighter, I'm like, okay, I have to figure out a place to be able to eat someplace, who's got the ships, or do I'm going to have to find a station or something. You have to know what you're going to do in the next hour, 3 hours to either take care of yourself or to log out.
Right.
And if you don't, you just want to log out and you're in a Gladius in the middle of nowhere and you end up in a station and you have to claim that ship, that's what you got to do.
Yep.
So that's just the way the game is. I don't want to be in a Gladius and log out my Gladius and then be back in my Gladius, because guess what? Now I have to I have to go back to a station again and then get all my supplies, because what I'm saying, it gets me. I get to start again on a fresh footing instead of being out there on like a half tank of gas and a half tank of stomach.
Right.
In terms of my player.
Well, let's use the example you said, and I'm going to move on to the next guest after this, because I think you raised a good point.
I know that.
There's also going to be the dynamic of the fact that why will you fly a fighter to go do such and such? A lot of times we're taking these ships because we're in a very offensive attitude, but that's not always the case. And for example, the other day I was in my Scorpius and we were meeting at Microtech, and I was in a Scorpius. It was fully loaded with all class 1, class A, top of the line stuff in it, right? I get in the ship at Hurston and I just want to jump to Microtech. No, couldn't do it. I'm like, what do you mean I can't jump to Microtech in this thing? Well, I've forgotten that if you put a VK00 in, which is a high performance quantum drive, it gobbles up fuel. I couldn't even jump to MIC L1, even though I had This was in a freaking F8. I couldn't get there. The purpose of that ship being in high performance is to be in combat, not to be traveling across the universe, right? The idea is that when I'm in close quarter combat within a system or within a certain range, if I'm on a carrier like a Kraken, I can go out there and perform. I can jump, if necessary, some short distance, but not trying to cross halfway across system in an F8. And most of you guys who have fighters know this. Many of the fighters, you cannot quantum drive large areas of space. So what does that mean? That means either I have to compromise and put in a civilian, which I could put a civilian quantum in there, and I can go all the way from, Crew L5 or MIC L5 all the way to the bottom of the screen, all the way to Microtech, nonstop, right? But now the ship is not at the performance level that I wanted as a fighter. So to your point, when we take certain ships out, yeah, if I'm in that Gladius, I know there's no bed in it. So guess what? Short range fighter, right? It's not long range. It's not a freaking Warden. So that means I got to be either near a carrier or some facility that when I go out, I can go back with. That's the way the game's going to be. So everybody who's flying around, fighters flying everywhere right now, eventually, to your point, when these systems get bigger, that ain't going to happen. If you ain't got a Liberator to move your ship, you're going to be in trouble. That's what's going to happen, because you're not going to be respawning or calling it up or reclaiming it. That's going to be that's a workaround for right now. Later on, it is not going to be what's happening in the game.
That's what I do. I actually have, because a military quantum drive is think about it. Quick reaction time, fighter, and that's why it's burning fuel, because it's just getting in ASAP, right? I actually, there's one station, I forget if it's Mike L5 or some crazy crap, and that's where you can find a Class A quantum drive civilian.
Yeah,
and that's what I use in all my light fighters.
Yeah,
all my fighters, I try to all my ships. That I want all my ships to be able to go everywhere, because I used to from Crusader to Microtech, took me 6 stops with the stock military quantum drive. I had to stop at every single station all the way from Crusader to Microtech. It was wild. I was like, this is crazy.
It's crazy.
I had to get rid of this shit. So like, hey, just Daymar, like, okay, and I'm like, this, wait a minute, I have to stop again. Oh, no, that's not good. So that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's
a good point.
That's the same thing. You have to figure out. What's the name of that? I'll go. But what's the name of that? Icar, or what's the place where everyone looks at their schematics for their ship?
Urkel. Yeah.
Yeah, Urkel's great at like, looking at fuel reserve. If you actually look at those numbers, it tells you, how far they go and how quick they are. And I suggest everyone look at that to figure out if that's what they want.
Yep.
If you're planning out a mission to go someplace, you want a Gladius or another fighter, you can certainly manage your time and get there and take a slower quantum drive. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you actually save time because you're not stopping each time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the way I look at it. But
okay.
I appreciate it. I'll let you go.
Oh, cool stuff. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. The Admiral grinds his gears. Let me bring it almost over, and then we're going to bring in North End, and then we're going to move on. Almost, what's up?
Morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
My only concern about the removal of BedLogging, at least temporarily, it seems. I guess it's just, I think it's going to do more harm than whatever it doesn't fit our vision. Like, there's just too many situations where you kind of have to bedlog. Something comes up, life happens,
right? And
then it's not really feasible to make it to a location to log out. And if you're, let's say you're in your Arastra or whatever, and you're in a Pyro, you're on the fringes of space, so you're in deep space. You're not like some close jump point. You're deep space. What is the time going to look like for you to travel to the closest location? Probably I'm going to base this number based off of the Bolon and the Conyan, and that's from Microtech to what is that place called where they rule with the Iron Fist?
Oh, Hurston?
Yeah, from Microtech to Hurston with the Bolon, it's 15 minutes.
Okay.
So and that's a much smaller, solar system. So I'm thinking, and again, I could definitely be wrong, but I'm thinking, if you're out deep space mining, you're half hour from a place that you can log out, and you've just spent hours mining something. 4 or 5 of you spent some hours mining something, and then something comes up and you got to log out. Now what? You lose the ship and everybody's time because it doesn't fit the vision, and that's just for one person or a small crew of people.
Well, let me
thousands.
Let me ask you a question, and I agree with you. Let me say this to you, and I could be wrong. So please, if I'm wrong, I'll later on have to buy you a drink. I don't think they're going to get rid of bedlogging. I think what Chad is saying is that what bedlogging is now is not going to be what bedlogging will be later. I agree with the fact that they've proliferated the universe with beds says that beds have a value, not just from the sense of spawning in them, but the fact that they're there for a reason, right? I think that the question, all the reasons that you mentioned are 100% legitimate reasons for having it. The question becomes, what are the illegitimate reasons for having it, and how do we eradicate those or eliminate those so that when people use beds, they're there for the immersion, they're there for better gameplay, right? Better opportunity. For your example, 5 of us are on your Orion, and all of a sudden Griff has to leave, right? Well, you're not going to break the mining thing and say, well, we got to go all the way back to a system to drop Griff off, right? There has to be a way for Griff to be able to say, I'm going to be back tonight, or even if we're all in deep space, like you said, and we say, we'll be back tomorrow. We did all we want to do today, and we're in deep space. We're not going to spend that hour and a half or whatever. And like I said, it takes 30 minutes to get across the system now. We're not going to spend an hour and a half just to go back, an hour and a half to get there. We only get to mine for 1 hour, and I got to spend another hour and a half going back. 3 hours of travel for 1 hour's work doesn't make sense, right? So the question becomes, what can CIG do to prevent the person who's being hunted by a bounty hunter from being able to just go bedlog and kill that person's mission, right? Or the person who's being pirated. How do we keep that person from just saying, screw you guys, I'm just going to bedlog and leave, right? And those people who've spent time with piracy and prepared and gotten their mantis and this, that, and the other, all of a sudden, poof, ship disappears, right? Those are the issues I think that CIG is dealing with. But again, I don't even think those are it. I think that they're probably looking at something else with bedlogging. Mikey came in and suggested, what happens if bedlogging actually now, if you take the time to bedlog, maybe there's some type of stamina boost you get. Maybe there's some benefit that comes, just like when we take a shower, there's a benefit to talking to NPCs, right? If you don't take a shower, this is negative. So what happens if you log out? When you come back in the game, there's something better about you. I don't know what that is. You know what I mean?
Though I've reread this like they said this some time ago.
Right, it's back in March.
I've reread this like minimum 50 times because it kind of looks like one of the sentences needed a comma, but without a comma it means something different. So so the line that I'm talking about is the 1.0. So are they saying it doesn't fit the vision of 1.0 when Star Citizen releases, or it doesn't fit the vision of bedlogging 1.0? So
good question.
Say something doesn't fit a vision means it's projected into the future, meaning going forward, this isn't going to be so it's very I don't know.
But look at what it says. It doesn't say bedlogging doesn't work. It says the way bedlogging works. Big difference. The way it works. It doesn't say bedlogging doesn't work. It says, look at the sentence there. The way bedlogging works in the game isn't going to fit that vision, but really more fundamentally, bedlogging itself does not entirely fit the vision. So
yes, and
entirely.
So that's what makes me think it's not. You're right. I don't think it is specifically let's say a PvP issue, because if it was a PvP issue, now you're taking something that affects everybody and applying it to the not small handful, but the vast least amount of people. Right. So I don't think they would get it out just for a PvP issue. I think there is something else that they might have said it, but I also look at it like this sounds like one of those cases where, what is it, where they say the cure is worse than the disease?
Yeah,
like
the fix may not be so great, huh?
Yeah, like if you're taking bedlogging out for any extended period of time.
Yeah.
That's especially if you're trying to run testings on the economy, because we're supposed to be working on the economy soon. How are you supposed to get accurate data if the people who are supposed to be doing economy stuff can no longer bedlock for the same situation, same example? This the Orion or Arastra, you're out mining, you got to go. How are you going to bring that to economy if you just have to lose your load?
Yeah. I think your question's good. I think the concern is there. I think that, and I have to say that the scale of the game, that's probably the strongest point you made to me. The scale of the game says that there has to be a way for us to be able to quit the game and resume without breaking immersion. Now, what that is, like you said, you're in the Orion, you're 12 systems out somewhere. There's no stations around you. There's no landing zones. There has to be a way for us to be able to say, okay, we're going to stop here, and pick up tomorrow.
Otherwise, you're stifling exploration.
Oh, big time, right? Because you're only going to go so far, right?
Yeah.
And, the time factor, Admiral mentioned this earlier, I think he's right. There is a time management side to this game. When we want to go out and do something, we got to be willing to commit to, tomorrow we're going to go out and try to go to this particular system. And we know we can calculate that it's going to take us 2.5 hours to travel there, right? Which also means if we got to come back, it takes 2.5 hours to come back. Right? So that's 5 hours in travel alone in a game session, let alone what are we going to do when we get there? Right. So that's why I don't think it's going to go away. But what it will become, I think your concern is, okay, what does that mean? What is it going to be in 1.0? What's so different about it? You guys have put all these beds in all these ships. I mean, look at the freaking Idris and stuff. And you got a whole, just a slew of beds. All of a sudden, those are just going to become cosmetic? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I will toss up in the air though. For the vast majority, actually, I'll say basically everybody. With you had I think his name was Mikey, who came in, who started talking about Eve. I don't know anything about Eve, but it could be the situation that everyone's looking at the, let's say, negative side of it, when actually they're thinking more of like, no, we're just going to make your ships persist. You can bedlog, but your ship's still there. I will toss that in there. That is a possibility.
In Eve, there is a thing with the capital ship in there, the Titans, where they stay in the game. And the kicker is you have to hide them in deep space or have them protected, because when you're gone, it's there. And
I remember
folks can blow it up.
We had the conversation before about relinquishing command to a ship if you need to log out, but your friends want to stay on.
Yeah.
And if they changed it to where you when you bedlog, your ship still persisted, that would also alleviate that issue.
It would.
Well.
It would.
So I'm just saying, again, I don't know how it's going to work. Cooks are cooking.
Yeah. No, but that's a good.
That could
be
a very possibility.
I agree. That's an interesting fix. All right, buddy. Thank you much. Thanks for stopping in. Almost over. All right. Last but not least, North End. He's been waiting. Hey, North. How are you?
Good, sir. How is your Saturday?
Oh, it's going along fine.
Awesome. So apologize. I came in a little bit late doing some chores. But I think just reading it and kind of listening, I feel like a lot of people were kind of focusing on one aspect of how bedlogging works. A lot of it's, we've heard a lot from the PvP aspect and combat logging and whatnot, but what about when you're soloing a larger ship, we have NPCs and AI working on that ship, or when you're traveling? Right now, they just use bedlogging as a single point of purpose to save your location, and that's that. Right. I did it last night. I'm saving myself in this one spot, so when I come back, I'm gonna be in the same spot.
Right. And
from my character's aspect or point of view, nothing's going to change on that ship. I'm wondering if they're looking for in Star Citizen 1.0, where your ship will continue to do its own thing, possibly in the back and maybe through Quanta. I don't know. So if you're traveling across a system, then it's going to take, say, 6 hours. I'm just arbitrary number as an example. And you bedlog. Will your ship go from the front end to the back end in Quanta, travel there and stay there until you log in, and then you will now load in that location?
Interesting.
Or, God forbid, you're soloing a javelin by yourself and you got 80 NPCs working for you, right? And you're like, hey, I need this ship cleaned up, or I need something done, and it's going to take a few hours, but I need to go to bed, or I need to leave. When you Well, bedlocked is that ship
continue
in the back end where the NPCs are doing work on that ship, and you log in, the ship spawns up, and the changes have been made.
Everything's
so done. Right now, I think right now we're just kind of looking at very kind of a 2D way of what my location is when I log out, and will my location be the same when I log in?
Yeah.
Right now, it's a hit or miss, but when Star Citizen 1.0 comes out, and they have all the technology in there, will it still continue to work on its own as its own entity while you're logged off?
Okay. It's a good point. I can't argue that point. You know, we don't know what the vision is going to be in the end. And like you said, we're only gauging it by what we have in our hands now, right? And unfortunately, that's still very limited. The idea of NPCs, you know, they've talked about NPCs will be doing things in the back end. We can't see them regardless. Whether that covers over into our ships and our crews, possibility. That's all I can say about that. I won't say no to it. Anything can happen. But it's an interesting idea of the fact that that NPCs, and that goes back to what Almost was just saying, what happens if ships persist, right? They actually don't leave the verse. That would leave room for what you're talking about too, that even if it's not on the back end, if they remain in the verse, those NPCs could be still there. And that's the risk you take, you know, depending on where you decide to leave your ship, you know. Interesting point. All right, North End, thank you much for it.
Thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. All righty, let's, you know what? Let's stop for a moment. We're going to go into our next topic. Thank you guys for dropping in. That's good stuff. We're going to do a quick commercial break. 1 minute, y'all. 1 minute commercial break. I'm going to move something around here, and then we're going to come right back and pick up on our title today that says, you have not played Star Citizen yet. I'll be right back. I know some of you guys are probably still here, but give me a minute. Turn this off. And did the commercial start? I don't know if the commercial started or not. It looks like it didn't start. It didn't start, did it? Somebody let me know in chat if the commercial started. It didn't start, did it? No commercial. All right, Red. All right, maybe Twitch is acting goofy today. You can still see me. Oh no, they can still see me. Let's see if, let me do this real quick. Let's see if it starts this time. No commercial. There it goes. All righty. Red said he'd rather see me than the commercial. For those of you who aren't looking at the commercial, or don't have to look at the commercial, thank you for being here today. Feel free to come in and chat, particularly on this next topic. I'd like to get your feelings and your thoughts about it. Got 22 seconds. I don't know. I think this is better than me letting the commercials auto run, but maybe not. I don't know. Is the endeavor persistent or am I wrong? That's a good question. All right, gang, we are back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Again, we're doing Soul Voices, and we're on our second topic for the day. Daft, I saw your question. The endeavor, does it persist, or am I wrong? We don't know, to be honest with you. They've never said what would happen with that ship. That's a good question. You know, like I said, the Titan and Eve sticks around. Whether the endeavor sticks around, I don't know. If there's something out there on it, please send me a link when you get time, because I've never seen anything in relation to whether or not that ship would be persistent. But we'll have to see. Any of those capital ships, in fact, the Javelins, the Idris. I don't think the Idris will be, but maybe. But I don't know if they'll be persistent or not. That's a very good question. Okay, so our next topic here. Boom. In big letters, I'm shouting it out to the world. We have not played Star Citizen yet. And this kind of goes into, you know, our previous conversation about bedlogging, kind of covers this. It's just striking me more and more that as we get closer to Star Citizen, you know, becoming the thing that it's going to be, I'm also realizing how much we have not been playing what it's coming to be. We've been playing elements. We've had portions and pieces. We've had glimpses. We've had sparks of ideas. And many of them are legit. I mean, they're going to be in the game. You know, some things we know they're going to be there. But then there are a lot of things that we've been doing that have been a part of this testing process. We've talked about this before, but for those of you who have not been in the game for a very long time, if I'm remembering correctly, somebody correct me if I'm wrong in chat, but our very, 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 very first mission giver was a mission giver called Tessa Bannister. And Tessa Bannister was nothing more than a voice. She was a voice on a space station. And it was the ISS something. I can't remember what the name of it was. Maybe somebody in chat remembers the name of this thing. And you would fly out to the space station, and when you would come out of quantum, it was a very short quantum jump. When you would get there, she would hail you and say random ship or something like that. And then she would tell you this message. And then she would say, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go check on this ship that is turned up missing. And then you would get a little marker for it. You would jump out to that marker. You'd get there. There'd be a wreckage of a ship. You'd have to get out of your ship, EVA out, and float out to this black box that was beeping and flashing. And you would hear this little message, right? You'd hear this little message from the box. And then you would, after you heard that message, you would go back to your ship. And then you would fly back to Tessa's station. And then she would thank you for doing that. And then she'd give you another mission. And then you do that mission. And there were like 10 missions altogether. And they ultimately led up to you fighting pirates. And then eventually you were fighting, if I'm remembering correctly, I think you even fought the Vandul. Maybe was it the Vandul? Maybe it was just pirates. I don't remember what that 10th mission was. But there was this building up to that kind of thing, right? And then, yeah, Zombie Pig. Oh, can I start over? No, I'm not starting over. You're funny. But after you did those 10 missions, you felt so good. And then guess what? You came back the next day and you did those 10 missions again. But that was our first mission giver. And in retrospect, we go back and look at it and we start to understand what they were doing. They were testing what it took to jump to a location. They were testing what it was like to get a mission. They tested what it meant to get out in EVA. They tested what it meant to go into an asteroid belt. And there was a ship out there that was in distress. They were testing what it meant to go in and fight after the Vandul and how the AI would react. There were all these different things that you did building up to this, right? And then all of a sudden, Tessa disappeared. She's gone, right? We had a place called Cryastro Station. Cryastro was a space station that you went to when you're at Port Olisar. You couldn't refuel and stuff at Port Olisar. You just went to Port O and you took off. But they had this other station that you went to, Cryastro, which was a big refueling station. It had nothing but these big refueling tanks everywhere. And there were like 12 platforms on this thing. And there were like maybe 8 or 9 or 10 regular platforms. There were like 2 or 4 or 6 big platforms. It was big. It was big. And you would fly out there and you'd go to this place and you would land your ship. And when you were there, you would land and you'd say, I want to get repairs, right? Or I get fuel. And these drones would come out. You guys remember the drones? These drones would fly out and you'd see these laser beams coming out, and the laser beams would fix your ship and you'd see your ship coming back together and stuff. And then the drones would go away and you would take off, right? That was testing, the whole repair thing, refueling thing, all at this one particular station. That went away, okay? And we thought we were playing Star Citizen back then. We thought that was Star Citizen. And none of that stuff is in the game, right? And so even now, there are elements of things that have come and gone in the game that we thought were Star Citizen. And then we see them disappear or they come back. Some of them modify and change and become different. And as we get ready to go into 3.2.3, we're starting to see what we mean by this is moving toward a better vision. People are talking about the way the game responds. Don't get me wrong, 3.2.3 right now is buggy still a hot mess, but you can go in and see where they're going a little bit more now, particularly with things like AI. I've had several people who've told me that the difficulty of fighting AI now in combat, it is not the same game. That it is for lack of that cliched word, it is now a game changer. You are going to have to work to fight against AI in combat now. The combats are coordinated. They are deadly. People who've been testing and playing this game for a while, who know it inside and out, this is coming from them. This is people who I know who know what they're talking about, and they're saying this game that the players are not going to be ready for what's getting ready to happen in this game. So this thing that we've been used to is changing. We've seen this with the whole idea of master modes, right? How many times have we seen the flight model change in this game? For those of you who are here and don't know, and you've heard all this stuff about the master modes, this ain't the first time. It is not the first time that there's been controversy about how we fly our ships. It has changed. It has changed. Every time we think this is it and we're there, it modifies and changes again into something else. So hence, again, this title today of we haven't played Star Citizen yet. The complete vision, everything that Chris wants, everything that CIG has been working toward. We've just seen glimpses and pieces and shadows in some ways. But now I think we're starting to see more and more. For those of you who've gone to 323, you're starting to see a fuller game. And you're starting to see how some of these elements that I've talked about, mission giving, things like that, are starting to now become something different. Scale is becoming something different. I was watching Captain Serious Fun in a group last night. They made it to one of the distribution centers. And, you know, you see a distribution center and it makes a bunker look like nothing. I mean, a bunker looks like a garage, okay? Not even a garage. I don't even know what it looks like. But you see a distribution center, you're like, oh my God, you know. We were there a couple nights ago. We didn't go into the distribution center, but we got within proximity of it. We were probably a couple, I don't know how many kilometers away, but we weren't near it, but we were within the perimeter of the security area. And 2-3 hits, we were blown up. We were gone, right? There's so much that's happening in the game. So I want to bring you guys in and tell me what you guys think. You know, again, this title is we haven't played Star Citizen yet. How are you feeling about where the direction of the game is going? Is the game becoming something that you didn't expect? Do you remember some things that used to be in the game that are no longer a factor anymore? Okay, so let me bring in Pops in Space. Anybody wants to join in, feel free to click on the link and come in and give us your thoughts. Pops, you there?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm here. You know, Griff, what we have right now, and I'm just going to kind of say it in this way. We have a pickup truck full of things to do right now. We will have a what's the freight ship later on. So what we have, like I said, could fit in a pickup truck. We will get, because you have to think about, we don't have exploration. Someone just mentioned the Endeavor. We don't have all of the pieces that go on the Endeavor, all of those things ready. I mean, it's so many different things. It's like you said, the combat system is changing. So we have such a long way to go. We just got maps, that we can look and see where we're at. I mean, it'll go live in a few weeks and whenever it's ready.
Right.
But that's something that's in a regular game, the map system. Yes. And we're just getting it. So I mean, we're getting capital ships. We haven't really truly had capital. I mean, we've attacked them, but there's no gameplay for a Polaris yet.
Yeah.
We, like you mentioned before, we use our Carrack. In a way, it's not intended. We use it for cargo hauling. So it's
not doing the exploration. Yes, not doing the expedition exploration stuff. There's a thing, Pops, that intrigued me. You remember when we got Microtech and I call it the Apple store, right? The store in Microtech, right? You go downstairs, and one of the things that they have down there when you go downstairs is they've got the Moby glasses, right, which you can buy, right? They've got the different colored band Moby glasses, but on one of the tables, there are these AR contact lenses, right? The same type of contact lenses that you see in my wife, Twitch Pacheco's eyes, okay?
Oh, okay.
They're sitting there. You can buy, they come in a square thing, and you'll see these two circular things, and they're spinning just like this, right? And they do that in Twitch's eyes. I'm being funny about the wife thing, y'all. Okay. We just saw a couple weeks ago on ISC where they talked about UI with lenses and helmets. We're just now starting to see what those lenses are for. And they've been sitting down in Microtech for years. You see what I'm saying? And so it's very easy to come in and see that stuff and say, oh, this is all just decoration. No, it's not. It actually does have a meaning in the game. And we're just now starting to find out that if you're not wearing a helmet for your UI, that you'll buy these contacts, and they call them lenses, and you'll put those in, okay? And they will produce information for you to be able to see. There's a whole host of things down there on that lower level floor. There are computer blades, there's terminals, there's iPads, there's the monocle. The monocle, y'all, I know y'all think that the monocle is just for people who are concierge. The monocle is a data information system that allows you to be able to probably look at your stock and trade and all that other stuff. It's not just to walk around with a top hat. It has some functionality. We've had that monocle for almost probably a freaking decade. Okay. So it's and hence this is why I say that we have not played Star Citizen yet. These elements aren't there. They're not that we don't have an complete idea of what Chris has in his brain and what CIG is trying to ultimately bring us to. And sometimes we get into this, we get ourselves all ruffled up and fluffled up about something that actually may not even be in the game later, or it may morph into something that we don't expect. Hence, when we were talking about the BedLogging, right? Hence, talking about the distance across systems. We don't have the whole picture yet to be able to kind of understand what this whole vision is supposed to be about. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are right now.
You look at all the things we saw at CitizenCon, tabs. I mean, I can't remember them all right now, but I mean, it's so much this game is going to.
And who's to say that that's it? Who's to say that that's it? That the buck stops there, right? You see what I'm saying? These different things get introduced, but the idea is that they'll continue to expand upon them, right? And so there will be a point where we'll have a good idea of what Star Citizen is and what it's going. Then we'll be playing it. You know what I mean? That what we have in our hands. This is finally, the dream that Chris Roberts wants to do. But to gauge that on where we are right now, we're playing a game. We're playing elements of Star Citizen. But believe me, we are not playing Star Citizen yet. Not yet.
We're playing a pickup truck.
There you go. All right, Pops. Thanks, bro.
All right.
All right. Let me bring in Almost Over. Almost. Hola.
Oh, morning again.
Okay, again.
Well, there's kind of a delay between.
It's okay. I know the delay.
And,
I got you.
Okay. It's worse than Twitch, but okay. So, one of the things, man, I hate to do this, but kind of have to bring up that story a little bit, where we came and rescued you guys from a bunker.
Yeah.
And how difficult that was.
Yeah.
All right. So, this is the, like, say, multiple gameplay elements coming together that could have resulted in not only a different situation but a different experience overall. So I told you this before. I brought my buddy with me who had never played Star Citizen before,
right?
And he loved it. Right? He loved that whole experience of how difficult it was to fight those NPCs down there. And it was just like he said it felt like Vietnam. Remember, I told you he was down to like his last bullet, and he was just like, oh my gosh, like, he thought it was so impressively fun. So fast forward some time, we were talking, this is some days later, and we're talking about animals. He was like, I haven't seen any like animals in the game or anything. I said they're not in the game. There's no creatures but that's coming. Right. And then he said to me something that I never occurred to me. He said that whole time we were running up to the bunker, he was like, we were like almost 2 kilometers away so we wouldn't get shot down. He's like, the whole time we were running up, he's like, all I could think about was animals coming out of the darkness and attacking us. And I was like, it just never occurred to me, that could happen in a rescue mission. You're coming to get some people.
Right. And you get attacked.
And you get attacked by a pack of wild whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was 2 elements of the game. I mean, obviously, but the thought of the 2 elements coming to game to make a completely different experience. So that's kind of how I'm playing into the whole, we haven't played Star Citizen, because that is now going to become a type of reality where multiple systems are coming together to completely change how we play the game.
That's a good point. I was thinking about when folks went into Pyro, right? Everybody woke up. Some people didn't notice this. When they woke up, they had a med pen on their shoulder, but it was not a Hemsall med pen. It was a decontamination pen. Now, it was the same color, but people just assumed because it was red that it was a, Hemsall pen to heal you from wounds and stop bleeding. But it was actually a decontamination pen. And that was because in Pyro, you had the radiation bursts from the sun, the star. And that introduced a whole nother element that when people all of a sudden were flying around and that warning came up saying that there was a pulse getting ready to come off of this star, it introduced a whole new dynamic of something that can affect you in the game. So let's add that to your scenario, right? Let's say that we had been in a bunker and then there was also these creatures, and now you've also got to deal with radiation, and you chose to park 2,000 kilometers away from the building, right? So now all of a sudden your system tells you that a pulse is getting ready to happen and you're only 1,000 kilometers in, and now you're wondering, am I going to make it to the bunker?
Oh, you cut out. I can't hear.
We cut out. Can you hear me now? I know Discord's been doing that. Okay. So let's say that that's the same scenario you mentioned when you guys were running to the bunker, and now you get that warning that tells you that a pulse is getting ready to go off. Not only are you worrying about animals, but now you're wondering, are we going to make it to the bunker before this radiation burst hits us? You see what I'm saying? So to your point,
man.
They can continue to build out just like you're saying, right? So because we didn't see those elements, none of us ever thought about a freaking radiation burst might hit me when I'm trying to walk to the bunker. Some people never thought about whether or not an animal will chew me up on the way to the bunker, But as we're getting these pieces, we're starting to get the puzzle coming together more. And so now we are starting to see like, oh, wait a minute. What I thought was Star Citizen, this ain't it. It's more, than the stuff we've been playing for the last 5 or 6 years,
Yeah, we're playing little pieces of the game right now.
Exactly.
We're alpha testers.
Exactly.
We're testing little pieces of the game, and we haven't actually played the game as
Exactly.
totality.
There you go. Good point. All right, bro. Thank you. And by the way, thanks again for the rescue. We needed it. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, guys, you don't know. They helped us out because we were all laying on the ground dead, all 5 of us. Let me bring in Admiral Kusanagi. Then I'll bring in North in, and then we're going to go to our next topic, which I think you guys will truly enjoy. Admiral.
Uh-oh, my time.
Your time.
Let's see. No, I have to agree with you guys on that. And I posted the thing about the Carrick's cover on the front, because I think that's what that cover is supposed to come down. It's like a radiation blast. So, I'd rather be in that ship than the Corsair.
I never thought about that. That's a real good point. I think people have always looked at that as like a defensive measure for like being attacked. I didn't even think about it from the aspect of a radiation burst and you're exploring, right? Wow, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, maybe something in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Xenomorphs trying to break in through the glass. You're like, oh, screw you, Xenomorph. I'm going to put my little sunshade down and you can jump off and go to Ripley's ship. No, I talked about this earlier. I'll just bring it up. It's kind of like, when we think about like Star Wars and you think about like the original trilogy, but now there's like that Rogue One was put in the front, like, hey, we're going to talk about like Jedi and talk about this game's going to have this and that, but they have these elements that we were playing now to get to that point where we get the Sith, we get little hints of the Sith and stuff like that. So we're trying out those elements. So it's really good. But like, what 1.0 is going to be for some people isn't what their finished version, what some people want.
Right.
We might be on tier 1 or 0 about a certain thing, and someone's like, oh man, I got Star Citizen just because of this. I know my concerns about if the Vandul are going to be in 1.0. I highly doubt it. So it's just this, it's this long. I'm like, again, I want a game like World of Warcraft or another game. It's like, hey, here's the finished version of the game. Burning Crusade or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And then you can give me an expansion. You can give me planets later on, but I want to be able to like get in the game now and have things finished, like mechanics finished, careers finished, and then be able to expand upon the rest of the solar system or universe in this case. But yeah, I think it's going to be. We'll see what happens with 1.0. Really, we need to see that. Hopefully, that'll be this October. Is we supposed to get that in October? They got to come out with that.
I'm assuming that by then they said that this year we're going to get the what do you call it? Not timeline. What's the word? Roadmap, thank you. For 1.0.
Toby loves that.
Yeah.
Loves that name.
I know. All right, thanks, Admiral. All right, let me bring in North in. Then we got Kai. And then we're going to move on. North, you there?
Yes, sir.
Hey.
So my answer might ruffle some feathers. I say we are playing Star Citizen, but there's a caveat.
Okay.
We are playing Star Citizen from 2014. We have not touched Star Citizen, the new version, basically.
Okay.
If you really think about it, we don't have master modes. We don't have engineering. We don't have farming, hacking, base building, any of that. We don't even have pets right now before 323 comes in. There's no voids or animals except the stone bugs and the turtles. So in my mind, we are playing Star Citizen, but we're playing the 10-year-old version of it.
Okay.
We're waiting for the new version to come out.
Okay.
And so in that aspect, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I would agree with in the sense that we're playing what Star Citizen is now, but it is not the fruition of Chris's dream. The 2014 version that you're calling about is not Chris's dream. Those are elements of his dream, right? They're pieces of the dream. Pardon the stealing from the band. They're pieces of a dream. Just like back in the earlier days when all we had was the social module, right? The hangar module. Those were pieces of the dream. And later on, those 4 pieces came together, the combat, this, and they became what we currently play as Star Citizen. And I'm not trying to say that, CIG would say that Star Citizen is a game, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying Star Citizen is not a game, because I believe that there is game there. My point is the fact that the fruition of the full vision of what Star Citizen is in Chris's mind, we don't have it in our hands yet. And I'm sharing that because people like you, North End, and others who've been around, we've kind of been a part of that evolution. But there are some people now who may be coming in and thinking that what we have is it. And unfortunately, I even have players now who have been around for a little while. And when things change, they don't realize that there's nothing, what's the word I want to say? There is no part of this game that's sacred. Let me put it that way. There is no part of this game that is untouchable. That CIG cannot go in and decide to say, we're going to do such and such to this. And what happens is we get comfortable doing something. I get comfortable with mining. I think that mining's great. I love the fact that I've got mining consumables and I've got attachments and I've got these different heads and blah, blah, and I'm happy and it's just running fine. And then CIG all of a sudden decides to, I'm not saying wipe that away, but they decide to do something in a different angle and add something else. I may like it. I may not like it. I've got a friend right now who does not like all the depth that's in mining. All they want to be able to do, they liked mining when it was mining to tier 0. When it was go out, turn your laser on. You didn't have all this component and this and this. You just go out there, cut your rocks and go. They honestly liked it there. And that's their prerogative to do that. But now that it's evolved into a much more, even though they don't have to do the complex system, they honestly ain't that crazy about mining now. They think it's changed. And this person has been around since 2013. Ain't new. So it's kind of interesting to see that even people who've been around and I hope understand that there's evolution and change, that even they think that the Star Citizen that they had back then was that it wasn't going to change. It's interesting.
So looking for him, there is a mining game still in Star Citizen. It's on the website that they can play.
All right, North, on that note, thank you.
Thank you.
That's funny. All right, let me bring in Kai in real quick. Kai, you there, buddy?
What's up, brother?
Hey, I'm here.
So, quick word of advice to your friend who wants, this is way too in-depth. I just want a one-button game loop. It's called Elite Dangerous. Go have fun. If you want to just I'm going to play this game. I'm going to hit one button, stare at the screen, and in 5 minutes, I'm going to leave. Yeah. That's Elite Dangerous. Enjoy.
Yeah.
So, all right, look, I love you like a fat kid loves cake. Having said that, you're just dead wrong.
Okay.
We haven't played Star Citizen yet. Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
323 is not Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
This show is playing Star Citizen. For the last half hour, I've listened to people spin off bullshit in their own brain about we're going to have velociraptors and someday this, and I've got a pickup truck, but I want to have a carrier that's going through a container ship going through the Panama Canal, and someday this, and maybe we're going to shower and then I'm going to be able to do dirty things with Tessa Bannister and this is playing Star Citizen. CIG, Chris Roberts, has brilliantly sold you on the idea of a bunch of nerds are going to sit around and spin off bullshit in their own brains. They're going to talk to each other and get each other all hyped up. And then they're going to use their credit cards to send him thousands of dollars across the planet, beaming it on a beam of light that just goes off into the ether. And later, they'll need therapy to cry about it, or they'll be happy, or they won't. And like all of this, like CIG are the masters of saying one little cryptic comment, right? And I hear that. And now I write a 10-page essay in my head about, well, I know it's going to be this and this and this. And they never said all of that, but they just wink and smile and say a little something, and idiots send them truckloads of money. And I say, that is Star Citizen.
Okay. And I'm going to push back.
We've been playing it for over a decade.
I'm going to push back for you. I'm going to push back.
All right.
Okay. That's a perspective that I think you're 100% wrong about. And we don't ever really do 100% wrongs between you and I.
Okay.
Because there's evidence that you're wrong.
Okay.
The evidence, for example, is what I said earlier. When we first started this thing, people were dreaming back when we had Arena Commander. And they were saying, we're going to do this, 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 and this. This is Arena Commander. Nothing but Arena Commander. We're going to do a social module. We're going to do this. And then we're going to find a way to combine all that into one world. They did that.
Sure.
Okay. The technological things that they said that they would advance through, pushing through SOCs, pushing through persistence, all those things, they've done them. There's evidence of the fact that been, let me finish. Okay. There's evidence of evolution, of achieving these things that they've talked about. The areas that you're talking about in the sense of, well, people say, well, will it be bigger than that? As I mentioned, when we got mining 1.0, we thought that was it. We did think that there was nothing more than that. We thought it was going to be point, click, take your ship out, do mining. Then after that, we got mining hits. Okay, they added a little bit more advancement on that. Since then, they've evolved it 7 times. That mining has become something different. We weren't thinking of that when we got it. All we thought was that basic thing with the prospector was it. But the evidence proves that the dreaming did happen. You're dismissing the dreams as if we're all throwing money at something. No. And that's what you said. I'm only going by what you said. I'm going by what you said.
Let me clarify then, because I do not want to give the impression that, I'm not one of those guys that's like, this is all scam. It's never going to happen. Horror. No, I backed. And I'm happy that I backed.
Right.
And I do believe that we will get a full-fledged, super interesting, awesome game, universe, simulation, whatever game, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, at some point, whatever. I'm pointing out a separate issue.
You're saying that this is what we're doing right now is Star Citizen. You're saying that what we're doing now is Star Citizen.
Yes.
And okay.
I 0% believe
I think that's a byproduct.
Star Citizen is a scam. I'm saying that this right here is worth the price of admission for many people. For me, for the amount of money, for the small amount of money, I have not spent enough. Kusanagi, I'm sorry, brother. I haven't spent enough that I have to go to therapy about it. But for the amount that I have spent coming and listening to your show every week and shooting the shit with people and making my little ranty points is worth the price of admission. This is fun entertainment in and of itself.
But I don't think that's
part of the fun. When you buy a lottery ticket, you're buying it because it gives you, for that $1 price of admission, you get to have dreams about what could be. And I'm saying that while I believe that there will be a game someday, we are already playing the Star Citizen experience, and we have been for a decade.
I disagree. I get. Okay. Let me put it this way. I understand what you're saying, but it's a sidebar to. It's an aspect of what I'm talking about, because here's the deal. For example, to your point, to support your point, The community dynamic of this is Star Citizen, right? I mean, the fact that people go into Discord every day and hang out and talk is a part of Star Citizen, right? The fact that people go to Bar Citizens is a part of Star Citizen. The fact that people travel to the convention says that we're playing Star Citizen. From that aspect, yes. I think my point was coming more from the game dynamic of it. That's why I'm saying I will agree with you from the fact that there are live streams, right? And people are sitting around talking. Paul's having these 2-hour conversations with people. That is Star Citizen. I agree.
Yes.
But I'm trying to, I guess maybe because I'm talking about these recent game related issues that have come up that people seem to be putting so much weight on. And because things change, they feel like, oh, this game is becoming something that I didn't expect, or it's different, or master modes is changing, or hover mode. Sure. And all I'm saying is that that's because you ain't seen the final product. Yes. You're basing it upon a alpha build, as you would say, tech demo, and then thinking that you're playing Star Citizen. And all I'm saying is you're playing pieces, aspects, alphas, testing versions of Star Citizen.
You're tasting uncooked cake mix. It might be,
what? No, you and I are film buffs. And you and I, when I say this, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's like when you read a screenplay and then you see the final movie. If you read the screenplay for Star Wars, Luke's name was not Skywalker, it was Star Killer. Wow. There are aspects if you read a screenplay and you say, "Oh my God, thank God this is not what became the film." It's not until you get the final script and the film that you finally see, even when you get the script, right? There's the thing that goes to the producers and the distributors and they say the film's too long or we don't like this scene and it gets chopped. That's why we have director's cuts, right? So ultimately, it's not until you get that product that you finally see what the Abyss was supposed to look like or what Avatar was supposed to look like. But if you look at that original freaking screenplay and think that's the movie, you're wrong. I've done a film. I did a film. You look at my script and you look at the final product and say, oh my God, it almost doesn't seem like the same thing. And I'm saying, that's what I'm saying we are right now. We're in the screenplay side of it. We're in that working part that's working through things that finally gets edited, what we call polish and beta, right? It finally gets produced into a final product. And to you and I do agree about this. We said that there are going to be some people when that final product comes out, they're going to embrace it. There's going to be other people going to be like, that film, it sounded like a great concept. You know what I mean? It's like watching a film trailer. You know what I mean? It looks great. Then you go and see it. For some people, it's exactly what they wanted. For some people, they see the trailer, but then when they get to see it, it ain't what they liked. And that's all I'm saying.
That's the point that I'm making, to use your film analogy. The point that I'm making is this, right? Let's say I don't watch trailers. I don't whatever, right? I got a date. I say to the girl, like, hey, you want to go see a movie? She goes, yeah, I've heard about this movie. It's called Star Wars. It sounds pretty cool. And I'm like, all right, that's bet. Let's go. Let's see this Star Wars, whatever the hell. I show up. I sit down. I watch the movie, and I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome. Now, I am rating my experience of the movie. Like, what's Star Wars to you? Star Wars to me is, I went in, I plunked down $7, I sat down, I watched this movie for 2 hours. They had spaceships and brothers and sisters kissing, and what the hell? And no bras in space. All right, whatever, and little fucking robots. Right. Oops, excuse me. But like, you're like, oh, cool, whatever. That's your experience. Right. So that's what Star Wars is to you. Right. Now, if you are the guys that made Star Wars, or if you're one of the nerds who, I read the book and I read the script and I was excited. I was on the crew. Right. I was there. What is your experience of Star? Your experience of Star Wars is the 2 years that it took to make it, and all of the, getting up, and we were in Tunisia, and then we went out to the desert and we were doing this, and Harrison Ford had literally, he was a union carpenter / weed dealer. He dealt weed to the mamas and the papas, the band. Right. And so I was hanging out with this crazy carpenter weed dealer dude, and we were doing this. That's your experience of what Star Wars is. I'm saying, unlike other games where you find out about it when Steam says, hey, this game drops next month, and you're like, oh, the trailer looks good, I'll plunk down my $30 and play it. This is a different experience. This is Star Citizen. We're in for the ride. We're here for all of the good, the bad, and the ugly of this. And it's already, it's another level of, what Star Citizen will mean to you in your life. When you look back 20 years from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the game is huge, it goes for a while, it doesn't, whatever. 30, 40 on your deathbed, right? Whatever, 50 years from now, however long, God bless, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say, what was Star Citizen? Star Citizen to me was like a 20-year journey and meeting all of these people and having these conversations and whatever. It's not just the game. It's a much bigger thing. Star Citizen at this point is like a child. It's like a part of your life. It's like it's not like I went to a movie. It's like, I took up playing pool and played pool for the rest of my life. It's a much bigger thing.
Agreed.
So I'm saying we are already playing Star Citizen. We're just not playing the video game.
Yeah. And again, I have no problem with that, because like I said, there are all these other aspects. I was really focusing in on more of what people have been addressing in relation to the game itself.
People are going to get mad. Everything's going to change 50 more times before it's done. So before you get pissed off and run away forever, if you like what's there, play it. If you don't like what's there, take a break. Yep. Come back in 6 months when it's all changed again, and maybe you'll like it.
Maybe you'll like it better then, right? Knows? All right. Okay, Kai, I got to get jumping. Thank you, bro.
Later.
All right. Let me bring in Togi real quick, and we're going to hit our last question because we are running super late. So let me get Togi in. Hey, Togi.
All right, I will make this quick.
No, you're good. You're good. Because I'm going to chop my other question down.
What up?
What up?
So I think that 90% of what we've played is Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's the 10% that we don't have.
Okay.
Is the 10% that matters.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, because it's pretty much any game of any genre is going to share 90% of its DNA with everything else in that genre.
Okay.
And it's the 10% that differentiates your classic play it and forget it game from your absolute certified hood classics.
Okay.
Right? You take Helldivers as an example. It's just a third person shooter. You know, but it's the 10% that they do so well that is going to make that thing an absolute classic. And that's the stuff that Star Citizen hasn't touched yet.
Okay.
It's that polish. It's that little finesse.
Okay.
And I think that's what we're finally maybe starting to see. We're starting to get that little glimpse of it.
Okay.
But 90% is what we've played.
Okay.
If you full sell don't like Star Citizen, I don't think that 10% is going to change.
Make a difference for you. Yeah. Yeah. I
think that
I would agree with you with the 90% aspect in the sense of the things that we know about. The part that I won't agree with is because, and I know you and I talk about gameplay and features and stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff that they've talked about career-wise. Let's just use careers, for example, right? There's still some stuff there that we haven't seen. How can I say this? Like mining is way further along than, let's say, medicine. You know what I mean? So if I felt that all of the features that we had were about at the same level of tier, like they're all tier 5 or tier 4, I'd feel a little more confident. But there's some things they haven't even scrapped, like arresting people in bounties. We don't even have anything in there near that. The ships are there, and we get an idea of what they want to do, you know, but the mechanics are so far away from some of that still for me, you know. But I do get what you're saying. I think there's a good percentage of us to get an idea of what Star Citizen will be and that we can play. But I do agree 100% that it only takes a little bit to make the difference between whether this game is successful, because they can make this 10% could be just enough that it just, even with all the beauty and everything else that's there, it don't hold you, you know.
Yeah,
and we've seen games come up like that before.
The moment to moment kind of 90% of any gameplay loop is there. Even the, you know, like you brought up bounty hunting, right? We have combat. That's 90% of bounty hunting. It's that last 10% where you bring that guy in and you have that experience of claiming the bounty that we don't have. That's really going to bring Star Citizen and bring those gameplay loops to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll buy that for $1. All right, Togi. Right. Thank you much, bro.
Yep.
All righty. Good thoughts. Great conversation. Good views on all of this stuff about we haven't played Star Citizen yet, even though we play it. I play it every day. I play it a lot, not every day, but I play it probably 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week. Maybe more than that. I don't know. I'm weird. I don't know. I know I play the game a lot. Okay. Let's hit this last one. And you guys can hopefully join on this one. This is an interesting one about CitizenCon. There's some points here I want to raise. Last week we talked about the FAQ for CitizenCon, and I want to kind of pick up on it a little bit this week with some things that have evolved since then. As you guys know, the FAQ came out last week, and they've added more to it. I'm just going to read this for those of you who didn't read it yet. This is from the webpage. Your ticket booth, your ticket at both days of CitizenCon also gets you exclusive swag, both physical and digital. At CitizenCon 2954, the premium experience ticket. As you guys know, tickets went on sale this week. They went on sale on Thursday and Friday. Elevate your experience with the extremely limited upgrade. Add VIP perks to your ticket, including a dedicated private lounge, priority access lanes, extra physical and digital swag, discounted merchandise, and more. We don't know what the more is. Those of you who've been to CitizenCon before, you've seen the con is evolving each time we do it, right? It's a little different each time. I remember the first time I went was in 2016. I remember going to the con. I can't remember if there was a distinction between tickets. I think I just remember it was like $60 or something like that, or $80. I can't remember what it was. That was the first time I went in 2016. Then I went in 2018, and that was the first time I'd seen where they did two different tiers of tickets, the premium and the basic. And I think the premium went for like $115 or something like that, $120, I don't know. The regular ticket went for like $80, $85. And if you did that, the premium tickets, you sat closer to the front on the ground floor. If you had the basic tickets, you sat a little further back and you sat up in the balcony. There were still good seats, right? There were two different swag bags. The bags were different in color. I think the items were virtually the same. There may have been maybe something slightly different about them, but nothing dramatically different, right? And then I think they did like a Bar Citizen thing where you paid an extra $15 and you got to go to the Bar Citizen. So that's what the premium ticket is. Here's the thing that I want to talk about here. Well, did I hit the right thing? Let's see. Hold on. That's that. That's the premium ticket. I don't know why I don't have the other ticket experience in here. Okay, but this is the thing that changed this week. Okay. How much will tickets cost? General admission for the tickets was $250 US and 200 pounds for those of you in the UK. And then the premium ticket experience was $350 and US and $275 in pounds. They also talked about a CitizenCon gala, which will be announced a little bit further ahead. The ticket prices went up this year. Last year they were $199 and $299. And the difference also was that if you bought the premium ticket, you also got to have access to a VIP event that was held at CIG's office in LA at their studio. For an additional $100, you got to have that experience as well. We all got these swag bags with swag in it and stuff in it and whatnot. But many people tried to get that premium ticket last time so they could go. It was limited at how many people could go. We found out later that they were only able to accommodate 500 people. CIG had just over 3,000 attendees last year at CitizenCon. So just a small group, 1/6 of the group was able to participate and attend the VIP event. But everybody had a great time at the convention. There was no distinction between seating. You just kind of came into the room. The room was big. You could see no matter where you were. So I don't think people felt left out if they weren't sitting down on the front row. But that's what happened last year. So my question to you guys is this. Tyler posted this on yesterday in Twitter. And this caught me by surprise. He says, so we have already passed CitizenCon 2023's attendance and tickets. That means that they sold in 2 days over 3,000 seats. Now, last time it was in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, maybe my data's wrong here. I'm trying to remember if it was Germany or the UK, but I think it was when they were in the UK. The ticket sales was 1,200. And we had already talked about how many people, we were already guessing, like, how many people do we think are going to go this year? How many people are going to be there? Trying to get, usually the US is a little bit bigger numbers than the UK. So we're like, okay, well, maybe it'll be somewhere between, if they're going to do something special, maybe it'll be something between like, maybe 2,500 and 3,000 or 3,500, but they've already sold 3,000. Now this is April. We still have several months to go leading up to this event. And last time we were in LA, CIG let people continue to buy tickets, up to the event just about. So if they're going to do that again, the question becomes how many people. So I want to ask you, what do you think is, what in your mind has made these ticket sales happen like this? Was it last year's CitizenCon? Is it rumors or ideas about this year? Is it because we've heard that Squadron 42 is being polished and getting prepped for release? What do you think is making the ticket sales shoot up like this? Literally over 3,000 seats sold in 2 days. I know I told you guys that I was planning on going to the UK this year. I'd always wanted to go, but this year I wanted to go, and it's like, okay, this is before we heard anything about all this other stuff. I just always wanted to go over there. And once they get the studio built, I want to go to Manchester. And I was up Thursday morning, first wave, sitting here with Fast Cart and Captain Serious Fun. And he and I were both going to buy tickets. And they went on sale. I hit boom. I got it. Boom. I got my ticket. First wave, first round. The tickets were gone within seconds, not even seconds, because Captain Serious Fun got it into his cart, and when he pushed to buy it, it was sold out. And we were both sitting here together. The tickets literally flew out that quickly. What is it that's making that happen at this stage of the game? Is it because we're expecting something? Or was it just because last year was great? You heard about it and you hated that you didn't go, so now you want to go. I want to kind of throw that at you guys. There's one other thing I want to talk about here. The gala. Now, CIG has never had a gala. We've done Bar Citizens that they've helped co-sponsor. This last year, they had a VIP event that they've done. But this is different. This is a gala. And for those of you who've attended a gala, you know what a gala is. It says, join the team for an off-site venue, for an unforgettable night of exciting reveals, extra special guests, themed fare, and guided tours of our brand new Manchester studio. Separate from CitizenCon, this event will require its own ticket with extremely limited availability. Stay tuned for more information in the months ahead. Now, I want to highlight some things here. I know that you all are a very classy bunch because you hang out with me. But there's some things we need to pay attention to. Exciting reveal. What are they revealing that we don't already know? Extra special guests. Not special guests, but extra special guests. And that's not developers. Okay? Who are these extra special guests? A themed fare. Not refreshments, not snacks, but a fare. A fare means that you're having a themed meal, dinner of some form. Okay? And then, of course, guided tours of the new facility in Manchester. Okay? So anybody who wants to come in, give me your thoughts. What do you think the hubbub is? What's the buzz? Or is it going to be just a whole bunch of fluff? So let me bring in Admiral Kusanagi here. Admiral, you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Good.
What did I say last year?
I don't know. What did you say last year?
I said, damn it, the Squadron 42 people are going to be there. All the actors are going to be there when they release Squadron 42.
Okay, so
that's what's happening.
So your prediction is that some of the actors in person coming to...
Oh yeah, they're from England anyways. They're like down the street.
Many
of
them, yeah. Many of them are in the UK. Many of them are in the UK.
They're going to be there. Now, if I was going to go to this, I'm not going to wear jeans and my tennis shoes to go to that. I'm going to wear something,
maybe a little
nice.
bit of a dress code, to go to the gala. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, Xylo was like saying, was it for this thing or something else? Maybe it was for the gala. He was saying that they wanted people to dress a little bit more futuristic. Okay. I wouldn't wear like futuristic armor, that's what
Okay.
Maybe Henry Cavill might like that, but I don't think Gillian Anderson would be talking to you very long. So.
Yeah. Now, I know you've had certain feelings about the ticket pricing, and let me say this because I want to make sure we keep it on the focus here. This has been growing each year. As I started earlier, I mentioned about the ticket prices have been increasing each time they've been doing this, and so. With this increase this year, going up an additional $50, but also taking away something because before the premium ticket price, you got to go to a VIP party. Well, this time it does not include like a VIP party. It doesn't include the gala. That's an entirely different ticket. Do you think that this will continue to incrementally go up as the game becomes more fuller, more popular? Do you think that the ticket pricing will go up more?
Well, it's funny because, for people who talk about I think for the community, everyone's like, oh, Star Citizen, blah, 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 blah. And from the start, I've been like, hey, Squadron 42 looks amazing, and this MMO looks really cool, too. It looks really great. And I think the next CitizenCon is going to be primarily focused on, Squadron 42 is going to be like the biggest event. They're going to have updates for the PU, certainly.
Okay.
But this thing sold out like instantaneously. It's like Ticketmaster was there just pulling tickets. So this is without the markup. So what are these going to cost in October if somebody did grab them? And number two, are they underpriced? I know people that we've talked to from Europe saying they're like crazy priced because you could go to like an auto show for $20-$30 and it's a multi-day event, blah 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 blah, and this is like 10 times that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of anticipation of what this is going to hold, but I mean I almost feel like maybe it's kind of crazy to say it, maybe because it just sold out like so fast. I can't imagine like would you rather go to some place that had 3,000 people or 2,000 people or maybe 10,000 people in when the numbers finally come out for how many people are going? Like if they say, hey, there's gonna be 20,000 people at the next CitizenCon, I don't know if I want to go to that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if it grew to a size like that, even 5,000, 10,000 people. It's a lot of folks at an event. Would I be willing to make the effort to go? It's so hard to say because to your point, if we get to the point where we're past released 1.0 and Squadron's out, the question becomes, well, what is that we're gathering for? Will a bar citizen be enough for me, or will I really want to make that effort to be at a community event like that? A large scale community event. Maybe I would. Maybe it wouldn't be an annual thing. Maybe I'd go every 3 years. You know what I mean? Right now I'm going every opportunity that I can go because I'm following the development, but will I still feel that way later when the development has shifted into a different perspective? Maybe I'll skip a year. Maybe I went last year. I'll wait till next year. I don't know if I'd be trying to push annually. I don't know. I enjoy going right now. I enjoy that level of it. I love the engagement with the CIG staff and people. That's always great when you go. But I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. Let me ask you this before I let you go.
It's like, you look at Pops and Fists. I don't want to speak with them. They went to CitizenCon and they were like really close up front. They get that personal experience of seeing everybody that they've grown to love and respect. But if you're like in the nosebleed seats, like you're looking at a Billy Joel concert, like, hey, I'm not going to travel 3,000 miles to see that,
Yeah. And that's always the difficulty when things grow. People feel that way about bands, right? When bands are alternative and small and they can see them in clubs, they love them. Then they turn commercial, right? And they get so big and there's the feeling of disconnect, And CIG suffers from that for a long time, and they still do. Because the people who were around back in the early days of Around the Verse and everything else, when Ben Lesnick was around, there was this kind of direct, kind of grassroots kind of feel to the development process. And now 10 years later, people feel like, it's all corporate and commercial and stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's just the way things evolve. But people do sometimes have this nostalgic sentiment or feeling about when things were much more like, not to be funny, after CitizenCon in 2016, people stood in line to get posters signed, to get books signed, and they had time to go up and talk to Chris Roberts, to meet Sandy, to meet so-and-so, Sean Tracy. And there was a personal feeling there, right? But as it's grown, when we were at CitizenCon this year, you couldn't get to Chris. Not that Chris didn't try to reach out. Chris walked around, but he was so surrounded by people that even if you wanted to go up and talk to him, you just couldn't. Not because he didn't want to, but because there were 50 people in a circle around him, and trying to get to him was virtually impossible. There was no time for Chris to stand there and literally greet 3,000 people. When it was 800 people, they could do it. So what happens, when you start to kind of lose that? You do want to see the growth in the community. You do want to see the success of the game. But then the trade-off to that is that connection at that level starts to also not necessarily be there. And like you said, will I make a trip to hang out with 10,000 people versus 2,000 people? I think that's a very good point. Let me get your prediction on one more thing before you go. The ticket prices for the gala. If you had to project what you think the ticket prices will be around, what would you think the gala would be going for?
Is there
I have no idea.
Max limit how many people can go?
No, they don't say. They say it's going to be extremely limited. They say extremely limited. And it was 500. It was 500. It was 500 last time. 500
people. What was it? 500 last
year? It was 500 people last time, and they're making it sound like it's going to be less this time.
Well, how much was it? How much was it last time?
It was added into the ticket price because the ticket price was it was $100 difference in ticket prices. $199 and $299.
$300 separately.
So you think it'll be a $300 ticket for a separate? Okay, to go to the gala.
Separate $300 just for that.
Okay. You
gotta pay for good food. You know what I'm saying?
I'll buy that for $1. Okay. All right, Admiral. Thank you much. Let me get Pops in here. Pops, you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, let me ask you. Do you think these prices will continue to grow as the convention grows? And also, if you had to take a stab because you were there, what do you think the gala ticket would go for?
Wow, whether they will go up? Let me say it this way. I hope not.
Okay.
I hope they won't go up because I do want to go to another one.
Okay.
But if the ticket prices keep going up, it's going to cost me. It's going to be more than the airplane ticket. The airfare. I'll leave that like that. I hope it kind of stays the same. But I do understand this because I haven't been to I've only been to one, the one that I went to. So I don't know how they go, but I do see this from my perspective that, like the game, they are upping their events to kind of go along with the game.
Yep, the events are growing. Agreed.
Right. This is state of the art. So I can only think that that's the way they're going with their events.
Okay.
We're upping our game. We're going to be not just the greatest game, hopefully, or whatever person's opinion that is, but we're going to have the best events. Okay. Maybe that's their thinking.
Okay. And what would you say? And what do you think the gala ticket will go for?
Oh, wow, Griff. Okay. From the stair-step price that I'm looking at here, I hope I really hope it is not more than 400. But I would like to see it be less. Now, because they've already got the bulk. Because if you take 350 and then you add another 350, man, that's a lot of chingolata.
CIG held an event back in 2017, 2018. I don't know. It was like a event where you could go to their studio and have lunch. Mind you, you had to get to LA. Okay. This was not like during a CitizenCon. This was like a separate event. And they charged, if I'm remembering correctly, it was $225 or $250 to go. And people paid it.
Okay.
It flew out the window. People paid it. They went. And I remember thinking, it was a big stink about it too when it happened. A lot of people, you're already asking for money. Now people, because you had to fly there. It's like, it wasn't like it was during a CitizenCon. You had to make a special trip just to go to this thing, right? There were people who were willing to do that. And that was 7 years ago. If this is a gala, and for those of you who are familiar with galas are usually big events, and this is not a special event. It's not a VIP event. They're being very specific about the description on this. This is a very special, probably limited one-time type of event. It looks like that CIG is trying to produce. Exactly. And the question becomes, what is that worth? Now, this is what I think, Pops, and I could be wrong. I think that this is some big ifs. If CIG is making those special guests, people like the people who are the cast members in Squadron, if they are there, my assumption is that they will also be at the convention too. They're not going to just fly them in for an evening event and that's it. What they'll do is at the gala, there will be opportunities to meet, speak, shake hands, take photos, stuff like that. At the convention, they will be there to be on stage, right? and to talk about their experience and to support the marketing of the game, right? That's probably contractual type of thing. So if any of those people come in, there's a host of cast members that are in the game, right? Gary Oldman and Hamill and John Rhys Davies and so on and so forth. What's that worth to people to be able to go to an event and possibly meet those people in person? And again, pricing is also what can make it extremely exclusive, right? Because you can price it at a point where, people be like, I'd like to go, but I can't afford that. You know what I mean? That chops down the amount of people that can go. But you also don't want it to be such a ludicrous thing that only people who are of great, not wealth, but have money's no money's not a problem, right? You do want people who might be able to just say, hey, I can save the money and go. It's a stretch for me, but I want to be able to attend, right? You don't want the whales to be the only people in the room, is what I'm saying. Okay. So you think around 400 would be about a decent number. That's where you're at with the gala?
Yeah. Because Griff, you just made me think about, if you get autographs from those people, those are going to become valuable, especially to people in the community. The community,
it could be, but autographs are tough because they take time to do. I'll tell you what will be just as valuable, Pops. Get you your own selfie with Mark Hamill. Right? You know what I mean? I mean, that's something that could be done very quickly, or just even formal pictures. They get photographers there and you come over and you shake their hand, take a photo. And I'm not saying they won't do autographs. I'm just saying, at a gala, galas aren't usually about autographs. They're about meeting people. They're social events, right? It's different if you're at the convention, they're at a table, they can sign off on stuff, blah, 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 blah. But at a gala, it's a social event. And again, and let's say that the stars aren't the extra guests, the extra special guests, right? There's some, I don't know what else they're going to be. They could be extra special guests. But what's the value of that? To have a nice dinner, I'm sure there'll be music, there'll be things there. What's that value going to be to some people? And if I were to give you a prediction, I'm going to pick a number between 250 and 500. That's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick between 250 and 500, only because the pricing of the tickets right now is around that price, 250, and so to pay twice, for the event. You're talking about maybe a 2-hour, 3-hour event. That's where I'm going to put my. So your number lands within the realm of my range of numbers too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Pops.
And I agree.
What? Oh, you agree? Okay, cool. All right, brother. Thank you much. I appreciate you as always. All right, gang. I'm going to get Pops out of here, and we got one more almost, and then we're going to get going almost over his back. Almost.
All right, 1 sec. Let me mute. Sure. All right. So, one, I've never heard it pronounced gala. I've always heard it pronounced gala. Gala, both ways. And then
Orison, Horizon, take your pick.
Secondly, I don't think Chris. Again, I haven't known him as much as you guys do. I don't think he's gonna make it about the money. I think it's more of about a special set of people. Oh gosh, it's so hard to say.
Did I say it was about the money?
I was about to say like 200, but then I thought about it. I was like, well, you got to make it exclusive.
Well, my question was right. I didn't say it was about the money. I've never said this is about the money. I don't think this is about the money. Not at all. I'm saying for a gala, as you put it, how much is it worth? If the tickets for the event are $350, what's the gala?
I think the gala's like 200.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think it's low because like you guys brought it up just now, you and Pops, that contracts and stuff like that. So it's not like they're having to pay extra for them to be there.
Whoa. You've got to fly them in, house them, limo them. That's all expenses. That is not free. And CIG has made it clear that they make no money on CitizenCon. None.
Yeah, again, not about the money.
Okay.
But I do think, even though it isn't about the money, I do think. See, I want to say 200.
Okay, that's fair.
It's not about the money.
Yeah, what's your
but also, you want an exclusivity thing like these few, and the only way to get that exclusivity is if only a couple people could get it, right?
That's the trick, right? And you already know, and you know,
2 and 300.
So you
I don't think it's going to be
right. So you made the gala less than the general admission ticket.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to see those tickets. Those tickets you won't even get to breathe on those tickets at $200. If people are willing to pay the money to get in the door for general admission, and the gala is supposed to be special, and you're going to give it to them for $200, I guarantee you, nope, them tickets will fly out so fast you won't even see them.
Listen,
and it's less people this year. We had 500 people last year.
I know, but I'm an ever optimist, man.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, listen, I hope you're right because I don't want to pay more money.
I hope you guys don't. I'm not going to pay. I
don't want to pay $500 for a ticket. I really don't. So I'm hoping you're right. It would be great. It's just going to be the F5 button will be broken on people's computers if it's $200. And it might be.
Yeah.
CIG may do it. They just might do it to make sure that anybody has access to go, to keep it fair. They may do it.
If they didn't say the thing about keeping the amount low, right? Then I would say 100% $200. But because it sounds like it's meant to be an exclusive thing, I mean, they could charge anything for it, and people are going to pay no matter what the price is.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. If they say,
that's really
I'm just being rude when I say this. If they say $1,000 a ticket, do you think that'll break? That'll break it? Do you think that'll break it, or do you think people will? You think those tickets would fly out?
People will definitely pay $1,000 because look, listen. I love Mark Hamill. I love Henry Cavill. He's a true gamer. That's the main reason why I like him.
Cavill.
He's a true gamer.
Yeah.
And if I had the opportunity to see them, and along with a lot of the
other folks, you keep adding up all those different faces. If they get 5 or 6 of those people to show up.
I'm a huge fan of The Fifth Element.
Oh yeah,
so I can't remember his name. It's slipping me right now. Emmanuel Zorg.
Yeah.
Right. That actor. I would love to. I would pay $1,000, yes, to get the chance to be able to see them. Just them three. Never mind all the extra ones. So, yes, I wouldn't be surprised at 1,000.
Yeah, I was joking when I said that, but the more I sit here and think about it, man, if they did that, people they'd pay it. I'd probably consider it. I wouldn't do it, but I probably would sit here and say, man, if it's $1,000, that thing's gonna be off the hook. And
those are some of my favorite actors, and you're giving me a chance to meet them all in the same place at once.
Yeah.
Over a game I love. Hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised, but if they decided to for whatever reason, just negate the whole exclusivity thing, trying to keep it small.
Right.
I could say 200.
Right. I get you on that.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they said,
wow.
More anything, even if they said $2,000, I feel like people are still. If they said $5,000, there are going to be some.
There's somebody who could do it, right? They could do it, right? I agree. There would be people who would be able to do it, But wow, okay. I hate to say it, I don't want them to charge $1,000, but I could see them charging $1,000 if what we're talking about happens. If what we're talking about is the deal, we don't know.
Sometimes I don't want to let my true feelings out on your show because we know CIG watches your show, and they're probably using this. They're like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I am going to charge $700 for the ticket.
No, they aren't. Trust me, we don't have that much influence, but it is.
I know you don't have that much influence, but they can use the people reacting as a gauge
to see what people think. What people are really. And believe me, they've got smart, which we know, even though people may not like it, they do have smart marketing people that know what the window is of what they can do. And again, $250 to $500 for me, I could see that because I've gone to galas at that rate. $1,000, I think that would be the peak that they could ask
I'm not gonna lie.
Community. That could be the
don't
peak that they
think
could ask
they're going to go
the community.
Obsessively high with it because there is the risk of backlash.
Exactly.
Even though people could afford it, people are going to be like,
you've priced that into a small percentage of people
for the tickets.
You've at $1,000, you've priced it into a very narrow group of people who it's not even whether they have the accessibility of the money, but even to save it if they want to, $1,000 is a lot of money to save and you're already spending, not to be funny, but just to go to UK, stay there and everything else, you're already probably spending almost a couple grand. You're going to drop another grand for a 2-hour, 3-hour event. Yeah, I think that's the max that they could ask to make it an exclusive event. But that's just my thoughts.
In my head, I'm trying to work a way where they could charge $200 and still make it an exclusive event.
Yeah.
And the only way I can think of is if they charge $200 but still make it exclusive by letting people win tickets to the gala.
That would be interesting. Let me throw one more thing into while you're here, and I just want to this is a real quick one so we could get, because I got to wrap up the show because I'm already over. In the future, would you prefer that CIG just do a flat ticket? There's no premium. There's no basic. It's just one flat rate. And you seat based on, just regular arena seating. You come in, you get you a seat. That's it. Everybody gets the same swag bag. Everybody gets the same this, that, and the other. And if there's something special that they want to do, people can pay for that. But this gap that they have between basic and premium, do you think it's better to keep that? Because in some ways it does drive a certain dynamic of people wanting to do things. But at the same time, will they be at a place where they could just say $250 for the event or $300 and that's what everybody pays? And you cut down the whole F5 thing? The tickets are available? No? Okay.
So here's the thing. Backstage passes, right? That's a thing, right? Backstage passes aren't for them to get extra money out of you, because they generally don't result in that much more money. It's the tickets on mass that pull in the money, right? So let's say backstage passes is more of a thing for like your, let's say, hope at maybe you'll get a backstage pass. So you're likely to get into this thing. It's for the fans. It's not really for them to make. So,
okay, but I'm asking about general admission. I'm saying like right now there's two tickets, right? $250 and $350.
Yeah.
I'm saying, do you think in the future CIC should just do a flat ticket, $300? That's it.
Yeah, but then what about for the people who do want extra stuff?
That could be a side. That could be an aside. And what's the extra you're talking about? Like what? Like, give me an example of what you mean by extra. Like what?
Just anything extra, like maybe I don't know, a dinner after. I don't know, something to hang out with whomever.
Well, see, like they've done that.
Whether it be devs or
yeah, but see, I'm saying right now when you go to CitizenCon, you get to do that. There's no distinction there. That's what I'm saying. The tier thing is only because in the past it was because you got to sit closer in the front, or the swag bag was different. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying if the tickets are going to remain like right now, you can still buy tickets right now, right? I'm just saying, just make it tickets are $300. I'm just picking a number. I'm not saying this what the number should be, y'all. $300 general admission. Everybody comes in. Everybody gets the same thing. That's it. And guess what? If I want a ticket 2 months from now, I don't have to worry about hitting the F5 button trying to smash it, right?
But let's say you're one of the people. Let's say we, me and you purchased this $300 ticket.
Okay.
So what do you mean to have something separate? Me and you both buy the $300 ticket,
right?
But let's say I want to go back to the hotel room at a certain time, and then you are like, "Yo, I want to go meet and greet," right? But that's an extra $150 side ticket. Like that's what I don't understand, because anything that's different automatically kind of separates.
If they do, and I'm just referring to just the general convention. All I'm saying is right now there's no distinction between the $350 and the $250 ticket. They're going to see the same stuff, see the same people. There's nothing different. I don't get a Coke and you don't get a Coke. Everything is the same. The only difference is the swag bag and some other side stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm just saying, should you just make that for everybody? Don't distinguish it. Everybody gets the same stuff. If it's a keychain, if it's a poster, whatever, everybody gets the same stuff. I'm saying, can we eliminate the mad dash for buying tickets?
So the way I'm looking at it too is because kind of have a little bit of a business mind too. Mm-hmm. That extra $50 it's a bait.
It is.
It's a bait.
Is it needed?
It is let's say I can't afford a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. But I scrape every dollar I can. Let's say there's a $250 general admission, and then the swag bag is $300, right?
Right.
I scraped together whatever I could for tickets, whatever, and I managed to make it by the skin of my teeth for the $250. The $300 ticket is always a bait for those people who can't afford it to spend more money.
Right.
It's always kind of been like that.
Right.
So I mean,
I get the mechanics of it. Is it needed? Is it necessary? In this community, is it necessary? I went to here's the deal. I went to the VIP party. I was not impressed. Yeah. I was not. There were people who were. I was not impressed. And I got to meet Chris Roberts, and I was not impressed. Not meeting Chris Roberts. I'm just saying it was in a tent it was in a tent in the parking lot with some stuff, some food on the side, and people were standing around drinking beer. I go to galas and events, all the time. It was okay. It wasn't that it was bad. It was okay. And I'm saying you could, to your point, you could have people who want to pay for that event. Like this time they're doing a separate event, right? The gala. That I like. If people want to have that special event thing, let them pay the extra 100 or extra 50 or whatever. That's fine. They did that with the Bar Citizen before, where you paid and your Bar Citizen was included. But I'm speaking about the general event, the main event. Because guess what? There are some people who couldn't go to the VIP because they couldn't afford it. Hear what I'm saying? They could not afford it.
Yeah.
Right?
So if they got rid of the swag bag, would you be okay with that?
Why would they get rid of it?
Because now they're going to make all the tickets $250.
Why get rid of it? They give a swag bag at $250 price. You get a swag bag at both prices.
The swag bag is the carrot at the end of the fishing.
The swag bag has a poster, a coin, and a pin in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, and that ain't worth the money, right? But
it's
the thing to get you to take the extra step forward.
Everybody got it. The difference might have been, I'd like to be funny, in 2018 it was 2 different color swag bags, but the stuff in it was virtually the same. Guess what? Half that stuff goes home, people don't even open it up again. And I'm saying, I'm trying to, okay, we got 2 different perspectives on it, and I get it. I got to get a little bit of mad to see it. We can talk about it after the show. Okay?
You're okay. I will say, like, half the stuff you said kept clipping.
Oh, it did. Okay, I don't know why.
So like it actually sounds like you're raging. It's kind of funny.
No, it's funny.
You'll say something and it cuts off.
It clips in Discord, but it doesn't clip in the stream, and I got to figure out why.
Okay, as long as it does that, it's fine.
But no, it's interesting. But let's talk about it some more later. Okay, let me get Madness in here because I got to wrap up the show. I said I was going to wrap up. Right. Thanks, dude. All right, let me get Madness in. We'll wrap this up after him. Hey, buddy, how are you?
What's up, dude? Firstly, preach. Secondly, you're showing your age when you talked then, because that was making me laugh my ass off. I swear to God, this generation have been conditioned into thinking like they get like some extra 50, 20 fucking quid, whatever it is, to get something new. And it's like their brain explodes when they think, wait, hang on a minute. You mean I could just pay one price and get everything? Like, I mean, I buy computer games when you paid one price and you got everything.
Right?
You didn't need a season pass. You buy 5% of the fucking game. You got it all in one price.
No, you're right. Marketing has messed our brains up a little bit. It has.
It's messed up people's brains, man. It's like, no, I mean, in terms of the prices, like you were saying, in terms of the gala prices and stuff. Yeah, they're going to pay. It's going to be a fortune. Like I was just going to say, it's going to be a fortune. See, like, when has CRG ever done anything really for free? I mean, you just see it in everything they sell.
Yeah,
every single step of the way they sell it. You know what I mean? So the gala is going to be expensive.
What would you shoot at? What would you shoot for? What number pops in your head? Range. It could be a range. It doesn't have to be an exact number, but what range do you think it will land at?
I put in text 500 plus.
Okay.
I mean, I think it could go. It depends who's there and what the gala is going to be about. So, did they mention who's going to be? Is it going to be like premium A stars, or are we just guessing here?
We're guessing. We don't know. That's why I said we're just assuming that because they say extra special guests. Well, we know it's not developers, right? So we got to figure that maybe it's probably somebody from the cast, right? That would be there. And again, 2 people from the cast, 8 people from the cast. Don't know. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't say who's going and stuff, it's very hard. I hate all that shit because it's very much FOMO. They do too much of that shit. It pisses me off more than anything. They sell too many ships like that.
Do you think they'll announce
it? Just makes people frenzy.
Do you think that when they put the tickets on sale, they will say at the same time they'll say who's going to be there? In other words, it won't be a blind thing. You'll know when the tickets go on sale. They'll say this is who's going to be there.
It will. Yeah, if it's $5,000, they'll tell you. They'll say, yeah, Henry Cavill, Mark Thingy, Gary Oldman. They'll sell all the big stars and they'll say, yeah, and it's $2,500 to go and see them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Of course they will. Because they need to justify it because they'll get so much shit
exactly.
on social media if they don't. If if they have them there, then they will say, "Wow, it makes sense." Henry Cavill, Mark. There are all these superstars there. Of course, it's going to be $2,500. Wow. But if it's just Chris Roberts and his cronies in a tent and it's £2,500, it's going to with a couple, extra, pin badges in a different color. It's not going to wash. You know what I mean? So
you went up to $2,000. Wow.
For me. I've been to CitizenCon. It's great. It's the people that are there. Honestly, I said this in chat. If you want to meet people, go to places late at night afterwards, and you will find them for free.
That's right.
They are there. I met Jared. I met
all the
Sean
devs.
Tracy. I met all in the place at 12 o'clock at night, chatting with them. Because they go, they're starving. They're exhausted.
That's right. No, that's a good point.
You get them for free.
People don't know that. That's absolutely true. And even if you don't attend the convention, if you just find out where they're having, like you said, those bar citizens, they're there. They come in. Last time we were sitting there, I was talking to Space Tomato, and Brian Chambers walked over and started talking with us. It's like boom. It happens. You're absolutely right. That's good advice, guys. If you're there, but you don't go to the convention, and if you don't go to the gala,
I'm not going to go.
Absolutely.
And I live here. And I haven't got a situation financially. I'm not going to be able to afford it. But part of me was like, well, do you know what? If I am going to do anything, a situation changes.
Bar citizens.
I'll just rock up. I'll get my iPad tablet out, meet up with some friends. We'll watch it, and then in the evening, go to the bar.
You better look for me. You better look for me because I'm coming. So you better look for me. Okay, I'm going to be there. All right. Okay, I'm letting you know now. I'm going to be there. Anyway. So meet me at the bar. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So,
oh wow.
It's one of those things where it's like the people there are the best part of it. I mean, I agree with you. I dislike the spending the extra $5 for all the other shit that you don't need because I bought it and you don't need that stuff. It should be just a flat fee. Get as many people in there.
Yep.
But don't think for a second the CIG is going to do this for free and they're going to make it less than $200. It will be expensive if it's a lot of celebrities there. If there's a big chunk of people there, it will be expensive.
Okay.
And they'll sell ships there to these people as well because they know you're a whale because you're already crazy and spending that kind of money.
Have the
ships,
on
the last one. They sold the mining ship. I said it in chat. They sold the mining ship to the guys at the table. Literally, Troy was there, and he was saying they sold him the mining ship when they were there. So get your wallet out twice.
Okay,
so that's the way to look at it.
All right,
no worries.
Thank you, man. As always. All right, Madness, good friend, good guy. All right, we way over. Jesus Christ, I'm 30 minutes over. I know I've got a question here, Pops. I don't know what the question is. I don't usually take the questions in the queue here when we're on this show, but I know you put one there, so I'm going to try and find it. Where'd it go? Pops, do you think they will do a sneak peek gala image like a lightsaber from? I don't know, Pops. That's a good question. I don't know if they're going to do something like that. I do agree with Madness, though. I hadn't given much thought to it. But I think that when the tickets are ready to go on sale for the gala, they will definitely advertise who's going to be there because they do need to make sure that people understand why they're going to spend the type of money that they're going to spend. And it will be interesting to see what that price point will be for the ticket. I'm curious myself. Will I go? I don't know. There's a part of me that depends on who's going to be there and what's entailed on the schedule that I may go. Then again, I may be just satisfied attending the convention. The convention itself is more than a great experience. As Madness said, if you haven't been to a CitizenCon before, again, we encourage you to try. If you can go. To experience it is different. This one, again, is being hyped very much by CIG, which usually they kind of so about it. But this time they're really saying this is going to be an epic event. And I think a lot of that is due to where we are now in development. So anybody who's going, I'm looking forward to seeing you over in Manchester. Hopefully we'll be able to hook up and have a pint together. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for the great conversations today on our topic of you haven't played Star Citizen yet. Let's talk about what we've got coming up next. As we know, today is Potsat Saturday, the day where we connect with other content creators in the Star Citizen community. Right now, Paul Shelley is on with the Captain's Table. We're going to be sending you over to Paul's show next. Paul brings on content creators and people from the community to talk on his show, and that is the Astropub Captain's Table. After that, Paul sends folks over to the folks over at Relay. He starts earlier now, but if he doesn't, make sure that you guys check out the guys at Relay SC. These are the OGs of Star Citizen. They've been around for a very, very long time, and they share their information about Star Citizen. I'm sure they'll have some great conversations about 323. For those of you who haven't had a chance to go in and play 323 in the EPTU, There's a lot to see there. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed there, but you can still have fun. You can kind of see all the hard work that has come forward from CitizenCon of last year. They've implemented so many aspects of what we saw at CitizenCon already in 323, and we're just 6 months in since CitizenCon, and we've got another 6 months to go. Chris said they want to have stuff in within a year in there, so the progress is very positive. So check it out when you get time. Have some fun in there. If you're doing the initiative missions right now, I know they were buggy yesterday. Hopefully they're kind of ironing that out. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but hopefully that's working too. As always, really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. For those of you who came in today to talk with me, as always, appreciate the conversation. This show's about community, and you guys are Star Citizen community, not just our community, and we love hearing your voices. We're going to send you guys over with our good friend Paul Shelley, the Astropub. Our show tomorrow. I'm sorry. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time, our new time, 1 hour earlier. We're going to be doing a show called Odd Jobs, talking about all the different jobs in Star Citizen that people maybe haven't thought about, or maybe you talked about it on the side and don't think very much of it. Whether you want to be a janitor or an engineer, what are those odd jobs? We always say farmer, mercenary thing, but we want to narrow it down and talk about some other roles that we all may need to give consideration to that you may have to do if you're broke. Or just to do something different that you may find that's exciting. So that's going to be our show tomorrow, Odd Jobs. Hopefully you guys can join us for that at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Once again, thanks again to everybody. Stay safe, take care of yourselves. And as always, peace, love, and soul. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.